Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Drive-In Podcast. Today we have two guests, Emerson and Harson. They recently came back from a very bold adventure in Egypt, and we are going to explore, share, and dive into all of these details. And then we will also drop in some few interesting fun facts that we discover along the way, and some internal epiphanies that you guys may have had in this mystical land that goes back 40 centuries. Egypt is a place that has fascinated pretty much everyone since the history of time, since the ancient Greeks, to Alexander the Great, to Napoleon. There's no end to exploring the incredible history of this place, the mythology, the language, the military structure, the building of the tombs, the temples, all the way from Narmer, Sneferu, Khufu, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, the golden age of the 18th dynasty, Amenhotep, Hatshepsut, Ramses the Great, the Nubian kings, all the way down to the Greek Ptolemaic rulers of Egypt. So Emerson, we're going to start off with you. Let's start with Cairo. When you guys landed, what did you guys do first in the city, and how was that experience?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having us, Feroz. It really means the world, as always. Egypt is just a mind-blowing, beautiful, gorgeous, such a ancient, rich, cultured. Oh man, there's just so many things about it. So we landed in Cairo. We went straight to the Royal Museum. So it is the one museum that even the local Egyptians are referred to as a must-see, must-do, with so many different exhibits. They had King Tut's exhibits at the time as well, and just so much, again, unique history and beautiful exhibitions out on display.
This is the Museum of Cairo, right? Like the main big one?
Yes, this is the main big one, and I highly recommend it.
Right.
If skip all the other museums out in Egypt, but this one is a must. This one had just so many unique exhibits there that it's definitely a must see.
Right. Because from my homework, I saw that all of the tombs they found in the Valley of the Kings, like over 60 of the royal tombs, they moved them to the Museum of Cairo. So this is the place. What did you guys see in there?
Oh man, everything from sarcophagi, from mummies galore. There's so many bodies well preserved and wrapped. King Tut's obviously exhibition was the major highlight with his helmet, with his main gold plated sarcophagus, his whole coffin there. A lot of jewelry, a lot of different antiques, crafting tools, just a little bit of everything when it comes to ancient Egypt out in that museum there.
Damn. Harson, how did you like Cairo?
Oh man, Cairo was a culture shock. Man.
Oh my god, yeah.
From Canada to there. I was on such a hype train the whole time. There's a lot of differences from our experience to what we read online.
Mm-hmm.
Online, they said right when you go in, people are very aggressive, blah, blah, this and that. It was actually a very pleasant start to the trip, I would say. Weather's great. I was literally looking in the sky for a cloud. There's nothing like that in Egypt. There's no clouds in Egypt. So it's like going from Canada to there was just like the first day was just amazing. We were all hyped and like Em said, like the museum is a must see. If we had, I think, 2 more hours, because in Egypt, everything closes around 5 p.m.
Oh my god, it's too early.
It's way too early.
We were trying to figure out why, but we really couldn't. But so it closed at 5 p.m. If we had another 2 hours, I think we could have literally read and seen everything.
Yeah,
right.
There might be some play there because the tourism police is a very big thing in Egypt. So there might be some regulations that the government kind of enforces there to, shut everything down at a certain amount of time. But like Harson said, absolutely, we could have spent so many extra hours there, and there's just so much to see, so many details. And but it kind of worked out very well for us that it did close that time, because next we made our way to the Cairo Tower, which overlooks all of Cairo, and it's massive. It was constructed to be 187 meters, just over 600 feet. Yeah. And it's the tallest structure in Egypt and in northern Africa as well. And we got to catch the sunset at the very top there, just golden rays just shooting down on the Nile from old
Yeah.
Egypt, old Cairo, sorry, new Cairo. And Harson, what did you spot up there? What did you spot up there?
Dude, so we're waiting for the elevator to come, and I'm just like, okay. This guy's like looking at me like, why are you so hyped? Like, I don't get it. So we get up there, and then M, the photographer, he's taking his pics. I'm running around in circles. I'm like, where is it? I'm like, there it is. And I scope out the pyramids from the tower.
Ooh.
Bro.
I was like, bro, tomorrow we're gonna be there. Oh man, it was like, what was it? It wasn't like foggy, but it was like, that's the effect we got because of the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the shadows of the pyramid.
Oh man.
Right. So you guys you could see the Gizas from right there.
Yes.
Yeah. You could see the necropolis.
Wow. At the sunset with the golden light.
Golden, right? So you see like this, like Harson's saying, it's almost like a sand, the sands maybe like up in the air a little bit more, maybe a little bit more dust. It's like, because it's not fog, so it has to be some sort of like a sand dust that's just like erupted into the air. So there's like you see the different layers of housing just kind of fading off into the dust storm, and then you see this ginormous tree structure just peeking through the sand. You're like, oh my god,
jeez,
how big are these pyramids?
Was that the first time you guys ever saw the Giza, the big pyramids?
Oh yeah.
What was that like, Harson?
Oh, I was like losing my breath up there. Egypt has been number one on my to see list pretty much my entire life because of the pyramids. And it was like you always see the pictures where like the pyramids are right here and the city is right there. It's not exactly like that. It's like you have to be there, you have to see it to actually like experience it. In my humble opinion, I don't think pictures do it justice.
No.
Like it was, man, when I pointed it out, he's like, how did you do that? I'm like, I only have one mission in Cairo. Like, that's it.
Like he sniped it out. Like I was just like, oh man, like look at the Nile, look at this. He's like, no. Look at that. I was like, whoa, what the heck?
Wow. Guys, you're looking at 4,000 years of history right there.
Yes.
The first king. I think the Museum of Cairo has literally like the first written document ever.
Yeah.
And all of these things are like the first. It's insane.
Yes.
Oh my god.
It was just very, very surreal. So that was our first day there, and it was pretty much a light day. We got some good traditional local foods that night, and our main focus was, okay, first day in, we still got a couple things on our itinerary completed. And let's rest, recover, because the next days are just going to be back to back nonstop action. So the next day was a full day exploring Giza, obviously the main complex with the Great Pyramids, the Sphinx, the tombs there, and then we also wanted to do Saqqara and Memphis, and that whole complex there as well. So.
Wow, Memphis, man, this is insane. What was Giza like when you went right up to it? Did you go with the camels?
We actually saw the pyramids first. We actually got to go inside of them. Man, are they humid! Oh my god, they are thick when you're walking through. It's actually like, what was it, like almost like 150 feet.
Right.
Just to go inside?
Yeah,
just to go through the main kind of, I guess, their ground level or whatever. We had to initially climb up into the couple layers of rock to reach the access point.
Yeah.
And then from there you start navigating through the corridor that they have kind of carved out, and then you have like this shaft, multi-level shafts that are like a crawl space.
Jeez.
And I think they're about like 100 something feet. Yeah, 150 probably.
Yeah,
oh my god!
To get to the chamber with I think they kept like one sarcophagus there.
Yeah,
and it was really, really hot. But I was like, we're inside the pyramids.
the tallest man-made structure in the world.
Yeah.
It was
like ancient time. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like yeah. So what was it like looking at the sarcophagus? Because obviously this place has been robbed, but
Yes.
but like multiple times. but what was that like?
So it was just actually the outer shell. So most sarcophagus have like, I think it's 4 to 5 different shells that they keep putting like the body in to inside different sarcophagus to like seal it up. So they took everything out except for the last one, which it looked like it was like part of the ground or part of the floor, I should say, but it wasn't. But yeah, so it's the last one. It's made out of, they call it alabaster, but we know it as marble.
Right.
And it's like it's huge.
Jeez.
It's like you could fit like 6 people in there easily.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was just huge, and I'm just like, man, how many did they put in here for that? So they kept that just to show, I guess, the people like, we found one mummy right here.
Yeah. And like when it comes to the pharaohs too, right? Like the belief of the afterlife was so strong that they wanted to take, you know, obviously their jewels, their royalties and everything with them and transition smoothly. So these pretty much, the sarcophagi like that these massive tombs, sorry, not even sarcophagi, tombs, had to have enough room for all of their requirements to go into the afterlife. So whether it be their jewelry, whether it be their weapons, whether it be their armor, whether it be their whatever else, right? They needed enough space to carry all these things to their afterlife and transition there.
Inside the Giza, like when you were going through the shafts and everything, did you find any hieroglyphs and stuff on the side or on the side of the sarcophagus and stuff?
I don't think I really noticed any, but to be completely fair, there was a little bit of traffic. And
right, I can imagine.
And it was like people going back and forth, so you just want to kind of like get out of the way.
Yeah. But back to your point, Emerson, that's totally like such a important part of like the whole Egyptian culture was they were in the pursuit of the perfect afterlife.
Yes.
And that you had to be buried and mummified a specific way, and you had to transition into the other world, and then the god had to accept that, and there were just so much rituals going behind it. But did you guys happen to go to the step pyramid in Saqqara?
Yeah, the pyramid of Djoser.
Yeah.
That was the first one that we actually started with Memphis and Saqqara, and then we went into Giza complex after we finished there. Just based on like time of day and like the touristy routes, we kind of like try to avoid the crazy tourist rush hours kind of thing, and we had a really good local guide for those destinations too. So he advised us this is the best kind of approach to see it and experience it without it being, you know, packed.
Because just from like homework and stuff, I know that the step pyramid, which is like the wedding cake type of pyramid, that was like the first one made by the super amazing architect Imhotep. And then Snefru came and he said, okay, let's just fill in those steps and let's make it a pyramid. And his official one was the red pyramid. Did you guys happen to see the red one by any chance?
We didn't actually get to visit it, but our guide pointed it out to us.
Got it. Yeah.
So it was in the necropolis, and we're just like, oh, that's it right there. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's like a medium-sized pyramid. He's like, no. That is not a medium-sized pyramid. I'm like, oh my God. So that was cool, but I don't think like we would actually have to travel through the desert to get to that one. I'm not too sure if there's roads actually there.
Yeah, guys, I'm looking at the pictures over here, man, and the Giza looks incredible. The Sphinx, that pharaoh was Khephren, and from what I understand, that symbolizes, you know, the intelligence of a man, but the power of a lion. I think that's crazy. I think that's insane. Just the symbology behind it. And then what was the next spot?
We come out of the pyramids. Our guide starts taking pictures, and he's like, all right, guys, the car is here. Let's go. And he just drives a kilometer or two into the desert. And we're like, what? And then he's like, okay, get out. It's time to go camel riding. I was like, in the desert? Man. I'm like, let's freaking do it. So it was actually hype because each of us got our own camel. It's only one guide. And we actually got to circle the pyramid all the way back to the Sphinx.
Oh, yeah.
Solid,
like 45 minutes to an hour on the camel.
Yeah.
And just being able to see around the whole complex, a site that not everyone gets to see, and being able to, kind of go in the lands of the people from ancient times, right? And the same kind of transportation that they would have been into. So it was really cool.
Jeez.
And camel riding, man, I don't know how they make it look so easy, man. You're high up off the ground. These are not short animals.
Oh
right?
my God. If you're tall, you're breaking something.
These are very, very, very tall animals. And you're easily like 8 feet off the ground, maybe even more, depending on how big your camel is.
Wow.
And they don't really, they're not like a car, and you're not cruising. You're almost having like this like little short gallop that you're going through, right? And there's a lot of different rocks, a lot of uneven ground, so there's no you're holding on to your life a lot of times. Yeah.
The camel slip too. Like they're not safe either.
Yeah, wow. I rode a camel in the Sahara, and all I felt was the power of this beast. They're strong. Like they can take a lot of heat. Oh my God. And I can't imagine the heat of the sand under their hoofs and everything. Oh my God. So you did the camel ride. Did you guys see the sunset after that?
I think we stayed near the Sphinx for a little bit of the sunset. We didn't, like I said, everything closes at 5, right?
Yeah.
So,
okay. Oh my God.
They're trying to get us away from the pyramids, away from the Sphinx, all that.
Our guide actually, shout out to him. He actually was really good connections with the guards there.
Wow.
And he's like he obviously communicating locally in Arabic. He told the guys, hey, they're with me, like, can we just stay a little while longer? And they had a really good relationship. So we were actually the last ones in the complex, and and it was us, our guide, and the guards, and that's it. All the other tourists got trammed off at closing time. We actually got to stay a little while longer because we lucked out with the local guide there. Yeah.
Sick. And then what was the next destination? What was the next spot?
Yeah, so right after there, actually, we went to see how they took us to some of the local shops where they do glass blowing, as well as a shop where they have perfumes and different oils and the different properties of each one, and how the pharaohs and then their queens and everyone back in the day, even the locals would use these different types of oils and perfumes for different events, for different applications. So we got to explore the different senses, right, when we were there. And that was very unique too. Yeah,
I can imagine Cairo Bazaar must be like a assault of smells and sights and things going on 24/7.
Oh yeah, just a lot of everything.
What really caught me off guard personally in the bazaar was the lights.
Mm-hmm.
It's so colorful.
Damn.
I'm just like, man, everyone makes the bazaar seem like, watch your back, look out, this and that. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, I had that experience in Marrakesh too. I can definitely second that. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. So you're doing the bazaar thing, watching all these amazing, I think these are like very old practices that they're still making with their hands.
Yep. Yeah. No modern day machines to be seen. Everything was done in the old ways. I can send you some videos after too. I'll show you some. It's just how even they blow glass, all just olden day techniques, which probably like in Western society, like there's so many health and safety codes that are going to get violated. But being out there, this is the traditional way of them doing it. So this man blew a whole bunch of glass and then shatters it midair, and the dust particles of the glass are just floating in the sky. And all I'm thinking is, man, this would not fly in North America at all. But it was just so cool to be able to see how things were done, traditionally, and in its own way, and still kind of taught down generation to generation to generation. And then the foods too, man. We got to try some of the number one stop restaurants. There's a spot called Abu Tarek in Cairo, and they were known for their kosheri. So we're like, we have to go and try it out. And this was like a spot that's been very well renowned in Cairo. It's like the spot for kosheri. So we're like, let's go check it out. Let's just try, what's known to be the best kosheri, and it was so good.
Oh yeah, Harson, you liked it too?
Yeah, man, the kosheri actually caught me off guard. Like people trying to explain it, I'm like, this doesn't sound, like exotic, right? I'm in Egypt. I want something that's exotic, something I can't get anywhere else, but. No, man, it actually it caught me off guard. Like it was good. The very first one we went to was, in my opinion, the best kosheri out of the trip.
Wow. Damn. Out of the whole trip. Because you guys, man, I'm looking at your itinerary roughly. You guys covered so many places. So after you tried the kosheris, what happened next?
Kosheri, then bazaar.
Yeah.
And then it was pretty much make our way back to our Airbnb. And shout out to that host. He was amazing.
Ahmed, yeah. He was solid.
Absolutely amazing. He actually came in and checked in on us, and he's just like, hey guys, if you need anything else, like, let me know. So
oh my God, that's always the best.
Honestly, there's so many good people there we met. Just phenomenal, outstanding people who went above and beyond for us.
Yeah.
And forever grateful, for sure.
That is an understatement. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
The third day, this is when things get spicier and spicy. They just kept getting spicier. I think the trip just kept going off to another level. Every single day was another level. And the next day, we actually flew out to Aswan to meet our guide, our local guide there. Shout out to Maher, Bob, phenomenal man. Still, we're good friends after the trip. More than a guide, more than a business experience. Phenomenal man. We met him at the Aswan International or National Airport there, and from there, we set out to Abu Simbel, one of the southernmost parts of Egypt.
Honestly, a place that might rival the pyramids.
Oh, it was it was a long trip, obviously right after a flight there. The flight wasn't so bad, but after the lengthy drive all the way to I would say the most southernmost renowned part of Egypt, literally, I would say we went in at a really good time during the year. It was a hot season. It was their summer, which is known to be really, really hot. And it was at certain points. But there were very few to no tourists at all of these iconic destinations.
Yeah.
So we got to take our time, and just even as we turned the corner where these iconic temples are, I think Harson and I, we just froze. Like we went into almost like a paralysis of what?
The thing that caught me off guard. Okay, this is I was like, am I allowed to cuss on here? When I knew Egypt was bullshit, man. I saw the pyramids and I'm like, damn, that's huge. We get to this temple and I'm like, bro, these are 40, 45, 50 feet statues that people carved out. Yo. This is some bullshit. How the hell did we do this back then? I'm like, no. I was like, it would literally have to go pyramids and then Abu Simbel for a straight awestruck experience.
Yeah,
100%.
Cannot make it up. We both went into we just couldn't move it. And after we took the corner and the first sighting of the Temple of Ramses II, as soon as we saw these huge colossals, these ginormous monuments. We couldn't take a step forward. We were just in paralysis, like as if we're here. First of all, second of all, as if that's there and just towering over everyone and everything. Nothing even came close in terms of the scale of these giant monuments.
Man, actually took my breath away. And then right across from it, it's just water everywhere.
Yeah.
And not a boat to be seen anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this is just the beginning of the trip, man. I'm scared.
This was just day 3.
Yeah, I'm scared. Wow.
Yeah.
And you guys were able to walk into the temple.
Absolutely.
Or Abu Simbel, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Both temples. So we got to see, they're called the twin temples of Abu Simbel. So King Ramses II, everything like, made to be of his like a dedication to his power, dedication to his achievements, dedication to who he was as king when he ruled, right? And then right next to it, like I would say maybe 100 feet, maybe 200 feet, maybe a little more, was a temple of Queen Nefertari and his beloved wife. And
she's
Queen,
very famous. Yeah,
and very famous. And even then, you'll see all of very iconic influences of Ramses, like a lot of statues of him there as well. But just showing their story and how she ruled and was his beloved. So.
Jeez.
Being able to see those and also go into those, and that's where I would say more than Giza, I would say, and Harson, you can chime in on this too, is that's when we got the first experience of the natural, like hieroglyphics in their raw state, like not in a museum, not in like pictures or posters, or not like Giza didn't really have those at the complex. Saqqara maybe had a little bit, but this was the first time we saw stories upon stories of hieroglyphics all across the wall, all across the front facade, all the way inside the deepest parts of the temples. This was like I would say the first big experience of hieroglyphics.
There wasn't a single wall that didn't have hieroglyphics inside the temple. So we would go into a little chamber and it would just be hieroglyphics all over. And I'm like, man.
It just goes to show that they used grids. They were very detailed. They loved proportions. Oh my God.
Very well documented, they documented everything, right? Like they documented rituals, traditions, rite of passages, wars, major
war
events,
stories,
minor events. They documented everything. And just well thought out, like you said, with the grid, right? Like everything had a flow to it, everything had meaning to it, right? Everything was consistent throughout. Like there wasn't like something that was lost in translation from one hieroglyphic dialect or pattern to a next.
From the lectures that I was listening to, Bill Breyer said that Ramses Abu Simbel hieroglyphs are actually like the most detailed documented inscriptions ever. Like they're so detailed, like we even know the names of his horses and stuff.
Yep.
Like it's insane. But it must have been so like wow, look, like there's no words to describe something like that, I'm sure.
No. No. And photos don't do it nearly justice. Videos don't do it justice.
Wow.
These are things you have to walk these steps. Like they're almost like a rite of passage for anyone who wants to experience travel, culture, ancient history, and any of these things. You have to walk these steps yourself. You have to see these for your own eyes. You have to smell the smells, like with your own nose. Like everything has to be experienced in person to really appreciate the entirety of these insane
ancient structures.
Harson, did you have some kind of like crazy epiphanies here? Like something was pulling you can't quite put your finger on it?
Oh, nothing like that, but I was punching this guy saying, man, this was done by aliens. It had to be. This is crazy as hell. What are you doing? Humans did this? Hell no.
Wow.
Even our local guide, our local guide at the Giza complex, he's like, oh, it's theorized that, they brought the stones from here, they carved it from here, they used these kind of tools, and the theory is that this, and he spent like 20 minutes, explaining the theory. He's like, but realistically, guys, like it has to be aliens. Like, there's no way
Wow.
this was
Yeah,
like
I'm
no
not
one really
saying-
knows.
I'm like, I believe you.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, it's
But,
just,
So,
just like-
there's two things there. There's like the Abu Simbel and there's another temple.
yes.
Yeah, so these are the twin temples, right? So King Ramses II, his temple, and then going to the right, like further down, is Queen Nefertari's temples. So you get to see both of their iconic temples, and these are the two major sites of Abu Simbel.
Yeah, because
So-
I see those 4 sitting statues. That's Ramses, and then I see these 3 standing statues. I love this photo, man. You guys are right
Thank you.
between the 2 landmarks.
Thank
So this is Aswan. Now we're starting here, and then
Yes.
where did we move from here?
We made our
Sorry.
way back then to Aswan, and our local guide there, he is from Nubia. So he's a local Nubian, and he's like, hey, let me take you to the Nubian Village and show you, so we caught the sunset actually at this restaurant at the rooftop overlooking the Nile, and we got to feast on local traditional Nubian meals. And I would
Damn,
say
it looks
this
so
is
good.
oh man, my mouth is watering looking at these photos. And I would tell you right now, like I would say this is probably one of my favorite meals that we had from the entire trip. It was just filled with so much flavor. Each dish was unique to, a certain type of either meat or vegetable or some sort of spice, and man, just delicious delicacy.
Yeah. I see this picture over there on the right with Harson eyeing the meal. Like, damn, I can't wait to devour this.
Hey, come on, man.
everything is so fresh, right? Like we don't have your preservatives and stuff that you do in like Western
God.
culture and whatnot.
Yes,
So
swear to God.
everything there, fresh food, freshly made, authentic as it gets, obviously, and they took care of us. It was beautiful views, right? So we're overlooking the Nile, as you can see here,
Mhm.
catching the sunset as it goes down. As the sun goes down, everything is lit up with the night lights around the streets and whatnot, highlighting different reflections on the water,
Yeah.
and it was
So
amazing.
you're getting a taste of Nubian culture, Nubian cuisine.
Yeah. Taste
It was-
of Nubian
God.
right away, and it was beautiful, man, and everyone was so friendly and so kind. And it was fairly later in the night, so we got to see a little bit of the colors and everything of the Nubian village, but you'll see much later on in the next day how much more color there is to Nubia, and it's freaking gorgeous.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
That was an experience on its own, actually.
oh yeah.
Yeah, we just like walk up into some guy's apartment and he's just like, yeah, no, this is a restaurant. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. Get some food.
And that was, I would say, that was a wrap for the third day. It was a full day spent traveling, commuting, seeing some of the most iconic things such as Abu Simbel temples, and then finishing off strong by the Nile in the Nubian village, getting dinner, and then made our way back to our stay in Aswan. We stayed actually at our local guide's home. He had his own guest house, and he made sure he took care of us there. And as you can see from some of the photos of Aswan, it's not nearly the same as you would see of Cairo. It's definitely one of the bigger cities, but still not as developed, let's say, and modernized as Cairo, and even as we get to talking about Alexandria was. But Aswan, just again, beautiful. The next day we spent exploring all of Aswan again with our guide there. We were walking down the local streets, seeing some of the beautiful sceneries, and we took the water ferries. Fastest way to commute from one side from the east bank to the west bank is actually by crossing the Nile by water taxis. So you can call a taxi. Our local guide knew few of the local taxis that actually work in there, water taxis. So he called them up. It's like, hey, I need a ride to cross with my guests, and we climbed on top of the roof of the water taxis as they're cruising down the Nile. And that was a fun experience.
That was sick, man. That was so fun.
Oh, it was a lot of fun, and we're just like dancing up there, singing, having a good time, cruising.
Wow.
And made our way to another Nubian village, local village out there. And we were just kind of as we landed and docked, we got to see some of the locals and meet some of the locals and how they still reside and live and meet their kids. And they're feeding the camels, like some of the camels there, they're feeding them mangoes. There was sites of like a broken, unconstructed obelisk piece with so much, again, history carved into it, but just laying there in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, that's insane. Wow.
And then we took the camels, rode camels again for a second time during the trip, but this time going up a mountain to the tallest point in all of Aswan.
Yeah, if you scroll up a little, you can show them where we started to where we're going. Yeah, that one right there.
So right here is about where our boats dock, and then we actually took the camels all the way to that top point up there, which is one of the tombs of the nobles. And that was a heck of a ride too, man. And you could see, right, like how far up we are from some of these photos. You could see that we're just overlooking everything. This is the main city of Aswan, the Nile around here, and then desert and wasteland over there with some structures, but we're at the highest point.
Man, I just love looking at this. Like, it's just the Nile.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, man. And I see the little plants growing on the sides because it floods a little bit all over. And I'm sure you guys were there during the low tide.
Yep. And it's beautiful, man. Like, you wouldn't expect this much greenery in a desert, but because the Nile is so rich and thriving, everything around it is just so green.
Yeah, man.
Very awe-striking. And we went to explore the what do you call it? The tombs of the nobles. So ancient architectures of different tombs with different, I want to say, what do they call? What's the word I'm looking for? Different impacts, different influences from when the Christians came, when the Romans came. They had different influences kind of carved in and etched into a lot of these different tombs that we wanted to see. So there was an Egyptian component to it with all of their different hieroglyphs and different impacts. But then when the Christians came, you could see a lot of their paintings done on some of these different tombs too. So that was very unique to experience.
Man, I can just imagine, the great pharaohs of Egypt putting all this effort just for Emerson and Harson to stand right there, get a photo.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
And I think the traditional name was called Kibet El Hawa. Probably butchering it, but that was the traditional name for all of these archaeological tombs that they had for back in the day. And this is our local guide, Maher. Amazing man, very friendly. Still checks on us to say we'll still keep in touch. Became pretty close friends after this trip, and he was good to us. He took care of us, made sure we got to see all these beautiful sights. Not any sort of adventure that we had in mind, we passed to him. He's like, yep, I'll make it happen. It was always, about us getting the full experience.
Wow. Yeah, he seems like he's got the biggest smile. You guys having a great time. Love this.
We had a good time, man. And and then after the camel ride up, we actually hiked down, going to some of these different constructs. You can kind of see here, we had to go through some of these different under passageways and underways and whatnot too. And you can see some of the tombs here kind of carved in to different rock with paintings and hieroglyphs all across. You can see some of the paintings up here. This was when the Christians came in and their influence were into the stone. So this is Christ here. His apostles had a square halo, so that was their influence back in the day there too. Some of the tombs here, this was the first time we saw bats So bats are a big thing in Egypt, and they were like flying across inside all of these tombs as well. And then there was this snake that was crossing our path too, which out of nowhere. Yeah, like we were just walking down, going through the different steps here, and Eric's like, "Did you guys see that?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" Turn around, we saw this venomous snake just crawling up the stairs, and it just had a recent meal of a bird or something. You can see its belly right there. Protruding out, so we thought it was maybe a bird or something that was just climbing out. And there's king snakes everywhere, man. You got to be careful.
Wow, look at him squeezing in there. Oh my god.
And it's just wildlife, right? We saw camels, donkeys, lizards, snakes, bats, different birds, like just different herons, like and whatnot by the water, by the Nile. It was just very lush with its own unique wildlife.
Jeez. Yeah, Godfrey, if you're listening, I'm watching. And then I think we wrapped up there, and then we took our water taxi going this time up the Nile or against the Nile, so maybe down the Nile, because
we were going up.
I love these Nile videos. They're just so cool. It's like the Nile is just so chill.
It's so peaceful, man, and there's just so many sights from either side that you're seeing, and you can kind of see how the Nubians build. At the highest points, they try to build their homes and their different places up top there. So when the waters were pretty high up from back in the days, they were still, on the highest ground. So they never had issues of flooding, I guess.
Nice. Very convenient.
And then we actually got then to the Nubian Village during the day. This time you can start seeing the colors of everything pop. So the houses were vibrant colors, the stairs are vibrant colors, their boats are vibrant colors. Obviously, they have trees that are popping off. We get into their house. Their houses are just beautiful colored brick. And from yellows, greens, reds, blues, turquoise, they're just so many different colors.
They don't have dogs there as pets. They have something.
Yeah, I can see they have crocodiles, man. Oh my god.
So apparently it's a normal thing to have a Nile crocodile. And I don't mean baby ones. I mean a full-fledged, full-grown Nile crocodile in your house as a pet. Nubians, man. They built different.
Not Egyptians.
Like, I'm gonna stick my dog on you. It's like, yo, what dog? I'm gonna stick my croc on you. It was, they don't. I guess they don't have enemies there, man, because they're all eaten up.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Take my dog for a walk. You take my croc for a walk. So we got to go explore some of the local houses, and friendly people invited us and gave us some hibiscus tea, which is a everyday welcoming drink. And during
every
the day,
actually, like every place we went to, they're like, don't worry, like you don't have to pay for it. It's just hospitality.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Hibiscus, man. Hibiscus must be such a treat, man.
Such a treat. And the properties of hibiscus are great too for health benefits. But
hold on. Is that a baby crocodile?
That's a baby crocodile too. So apparently they grow them out as well. So not only is there a full-fledged grown adult there, but they're like, oh, come see this, you'll like this. And we get there and we just as soon as we enter this room, there's just like hissing. Like, what is that, a snake? What is that? And then we look in this huge tank, and they have like a baby crocodile that's hissing at us and getting very like territorial and defensive.
Nice.
Oh shit.
Training in progress.
Yeah. And I'm like, can we pick it up? And the guy's like, well, like if there was the owner, what they do is they'll tie up its mouth, because even at this young age, they still have razor fang sharp teeth that they'll rip your hand off, they'll rip your finger off. So he's like, if we had our, the owner of the house here, we'd be happy to, have you hold him, but otherwise, you don't want that.
This is so interesting and unique because you never hear about this ever, and second, I want to know, there was a tradition to mummify crocodiles in this part of Egypt?
Yeah, I think we actually later in the trip we actually go to a museum that's actually dedicated to crocodiles.
Oh my lord.
No.
That's
And
crazy.
they have like baby to like in the egg to like full-fledged mummies of
Yeah.
crocodiles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
All stages in life. Yeah.
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 It's like 11.5 feet mummy. I'm like, okay, cool.
That's so fascinating, because I know that the Egyptians, they specifically bred cats for mummification, which is really sad. But at the same time, they really revered cats. Like, they were very venerated. And I find that interesting that in this part of Egypt, it's the crocodiles.
Yeah. Like I said, like every city is very unique to the next. Every town, every place you went to, very different from the next in so many ways.
Yeah, I can see just how much fun you're having in these water taxis.
And oh man, water taxi is the best way to get around, right? So the next destination after the Nubian Village is Harson, this is one of your favorites, bro. I gotta let you take over.
This was an island in the middle of Aswan. And when I mean in the middle, I mean in the middle of the Nile. So the only way to get here is by that water taxi. And you can just see the towers. If you scroll on, I think the one where you're standing, just scroll down a little bit. Yeah, right there, like the fourth one over where you're standing in between. You can see how deep they like etched these gods.
Wow. These are very deep carvings, huh?
Very deep carvings.
So this is actually the Greek version of an Egyptian. This is what blew my mind. I'm like, Greeks came here and it was just like, I'm going to build your temples. Like, that blows my mind.
That is actually mind-blowing, because the Greeks had their own traditions, but here what they're doing is they're just carrying out the Egyptian traditions.
Yeah, they came over and they're like, we'll do your traditions as long as we get to be pharaoh, I guess.
Wow. Yeah.
So those two pillars right there, that's where our guide actually went in and taught us about what a cartouche is.
The cartouche, the famous cartouche, yeah.
Yeah, which is the thumbprint of, first, when you're born, you get your, I guess, the name that they give you. And then when you become a pharaoh, your cartouche changes to that name.
Interesting.
Not only a pharaoh, but a queen as well. Can you guess which this one is for us?
I'm just going to guess it's Cleopatra the 7th.
This is Cleopatra the 7th. You nailed it. So this is the Queen Cleopatra, the most famous one. The stories are told about, and this was her cartouche that we saw.
As if you found her cartouche, man.
Oh, it was.
It was our guide.
Our guide, yeah. He pointed out, and he's like, "This is the one you guys know, everyone knows of the most." And of course, we had to take photos and see it. So.
Yeah.
And I love this guide because he didn't waste time technically talking about, oh, look at this wall, look at that wall. He's like, guys, come here, look at this. This is Cleopatra the 7th. Guys, come here, look at this. It's like, this is what you want to learn.
You could spend a lifetime and still not get through all of the stories and hieroglyphics out there. And this right here was very unique as well, for many reasons. There's a meme that came out of this one, but but this one was also the very last known hieroglyphics ever in all of Egypt.
Jeez, that is insane.
It's so messy.
Yeah,
because it's actually Roman.
Yeah, you can see.
Were they trying to make it like a Roman carver was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you can see from
that's super messy.
Yeah, it's not clean. Yeah.
It's usually Roman.
Yeah, so you can see the details here of how it should have been, how well detailed, how properly etched out. And then you see here that it just gets very, very, very clumsy and very basic. No lines, no proper lines, everything's kind of curved and wavy.
Because, that's kind of sad, because I know that Cleopatra the 7th was the last of the Egyptian dynasty. She was the last Ptolemy. After that, it was pretty much a Roman province, and that was the end.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. They even had hieroglyphics of dwarfs. Was a big thing apparently.
What the heck is that?
they drew them to be shorter, obviously, than everyone else, and for some reason, every dwarf had a beard. And
blow your mind. Like in every culture, if a dwarf is represented, it has a beard.
Yo.
Crazy.
Oh wait, are these falcons? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah. So after we finished up at Philae Island and Philae Temple and some of the other iconic temples there, we made our way back to Aswan to have some more of the local foods. And this was one of the interesting things where when we get there, there's just like not even mummified, I would say. This is just like stuffed crocodiles everywhere for some reason. We're like, okay. That's kind of interesting. And then our guide there, he was like, go check out what's in that cage over there. There's full blown like hawks that are perched up, and they keep them as pets at a local restaurant. I'm like, all right, that's interesting.
It's stuffed hawks there too. So
yeah.
Oh my god,
that's true.
Okay.
They just
And then one of the main dishes there that is a traditional local dish that our guide is like, you guys must try, is it's basically stuffed grilled tilapia with some of the local breads that they make with tahine and some of the local rice. They had like a spicy kind of sauce and salad as well. And this fish, man, like you take a little bit of the bread. So I was watching what our guide was doing, and he took a little bit of the bread. He took apart the side of the fish, but as you're scooping the side of the flesh of the fish, they grill it so perfectly that the meat just comes right off the bones. But as you're scooping it, the fish is also stuffed with some sort of vegetables and rice and like curries and sauces. So you're getting a scoop of all of that, all in one scoop.
Wow.
And the amount of flavor that you're experiencing from all that, just amazing. And I think that's the first time, Harson, is we got to try the sugarcane juice.
Sugarcane juice. Wow.
It was good though. This one was good though.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that's one thing that was different from Cairo to Aswan. Everything on Aswan, like food wise, felt home cooked. The flavors, like how they presented it, it was so homey, you know.
That's always the best. Yeah.
Ignore pizza over there, but you know.
Yeah. No, but for real, like, you know, that feeling you get that someone like a family member has made this meal.
Yeah.
Oh, it just I don't know. In my opinion, it just tastes better automatically.
Yeah. And these sugar canes, they grow near the Nile too?
I don't know, to be honest, where they harvest them from, but they were all like very fresh. Like none of them was preserved. Like all of these, like you saw them grind out the sugar canes, like sticks themselves, the whole branch stalk themselves, and make it fresh. So everywhere we went to have sugarcane, there were fresh cut stalks of sugarcane there. And we're like, and they would make it fresh right in front of you. Wow. So it had to have been harvested from some sugarcane farm or somewhere nearby. So I would assume close to the Nile. And man, I've had Indian sugarcane, and I would say this is probably sweeter than the Indian sugarcane. And Indian sugarcane is pretty sweet.
I didn't know they could go sweeter than that. But
so refreshing, so sweet.
Because guys, I had like a brief attempt at coming to Egypt at this time. And what I was surprised by was the guava fruit, and now I'm happy to see some sugarcane, because here in Turkey, you know, pomegranate is huge here, and I didn't see a lot of pomegranate over there, but I was pleasantly happy just to see that guava and sugarcanes are big here, which is really cool. It's really cool.
Guava is huge. Guava and sugarcane, I would say, are the top, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, this tastes so damn good. Oh my god.
So good. So good. And with every dish, they brought fresh lime, and like even the vegetables that they do harvest and have there, from the vegetable side, man, it's like all the tomatoes were so fresh. Oh man, all onions, everything there was just so good.
The thing is, we appreciate these things so much because, you know, a lot of food now is so processed, and it's like it's just nice to see it coming straight from the farm, you know.
And that's where like travel really gets you to experience things differently, right? And like not just the culture, not just the music, not just the history, but the food, right? That's a huge component on just unique flavors that you wouldn't get anywhere else. Even if you got it here in North America or there in Turkey, like it might be differently done or differently prepared, or not the same spices, not the same type of oven, you know, everything could be like, each variable could be unique.
Yeah, even the presentation in the clay pots, man, I was happy to see that. Yes, clay just has a homey feeling to it, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely. And then this was definitely on our list as a must do, is we wanted to cruise the Nile in the way of the local way of doing it. So
in the felucca.
In the felucca.
Yeah.
The traditional boats with the sail.
And no motor power.
No motor power whatsoever. So you're catching the winds.
It's just catching the wind. Wow.
Catching the wind, catching the current, and you're cruising. And it was beautiful to just experience that, and catching the sunset across the Nile again. And that was very surreal.
This sunset with the golden sun over the Nile.
Yeah.
Man, like it sounds so like mundane, but I'm never gonna forget it.
Yeah.
Yo, guys, you know what, Harson, man, I believe you, because I'm looking at these photos and I'm getting emotional for some reason, because there's just something about it, you know. I'm going back to this quote that I read the other day about Herodotus, who's considered to be the first Greek historian. I think he's the father of all history, but he came here as a tourist in 500 BC, and he said that Egypt was the gift of the Nile. And I could see that.
True. So true.
This one, it's just up there. The weather is perfect. It's not too hot, and there's tons of boats going past us, and we're just waving at all of them. Like it's super friendly, golden sun, you know. And like one thing that caught me off guard there is everybody isn't like, there's no apprentices there. You know, people have been doing the same job since they were a kid. So these guys who are sailing this this boat, like when we turned around and went back, like we just used the power of the Nile's tide, right? The wind was going against us, and he would go on a zigzag perfectly, right? Like there was one point where I'm like, we're gonna crash. He's like, we're good. I'm like, no, we're gonna crash. He's like, no, we're good. And he perfectly like takes us through like this rock and the shore, like perfectly. And this is a pretty big boat.
Oh yeah.
Like you could see by the sail on that picture to the left in the middle.
Yeah. Huge.
Like, yeah, it's a pretty big boat, and he just perfectly does it. And I'm like, man, these people have mastered their craft.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what they're doing. Like they don't like switch jobs or anything. They just stick to one thing and they master it. I'm like,
yeah,
lifestyle, like amazing.
I love it.
Amazing.
So cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very surreal. Absolutely. And it was a beautiful way to kind of wrap up the adventures of the day, like the daytime adventures. And then we made our way to the local Aswan market to see. And Aswan's market from Khankalili in Cairo was very different. Not as, I would say, there's not as many lights, not as very colorful, but still very busy.
I would say it wasn't as chaotic.
Yes, wasn't as chaotic. A lot more room to walk through. A lot of spice vendors, way more than Cairo. So further down south, I guess, they value their spices that much more, or maybe they just have more abundance of it. So every corner we turned, there was a spice vendor selling everything from different teas to different herbs to different spices, and it was just everywhere. And then we got to try some of the some of Aswan's kosheri as well at night. And delicious. And you could see just the colors of everything, right? It's just, and this isn't even edited. This is just vibrant food. Everything is just so rich with flavor and nutrients, and so good.
Wow. I can see that because Rome, there was a saying in Rome that said that Egypt was the breadbasket of Rome. And I can see it. This is how they fed the whole army. That's why they were so nice to Egypt. They were like, okay, let's be friends. You know, you guys are giving us, you guys are making us food. Let's make a deal. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. And that pretty much wrapped up our day in Aswan. And then with our same guide, again, phenomenal man for putting this all together. Like, we had this crazy itinerary, and he's like, let me bring it to life. So,
let me bring it crazier.
pretty much. And he set us up with a guide, a driver. He guided us all the way from Aswan. We took a drive all the way up the Nile, hugging the Nile, but making stops along all of these iconic temples along the way, leading up to Luxor. So we stopped by Esna, Edfu, and Komombo temples all along the way, going north to Luxor.
Yeah.
And you could see some of the beautiful architecture and how they're very similar in some ways, with all of their insane amount of hieroglyphics and stories written on each one. But you can also see how different and unique they are from Philae, for example, from Abu Simbel, for example. Like, each one was so unique on its own. And this right here is the one Harson was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is insane.
Like, so if we go back just for a second, the unique thing about go up a little. The unique thing about this temple was each of these pillars was carved differently. Every single pillar in this temple was carved differently. So each pillar tells its own story. Yeah, and if you look on the top right in the middle, that picture, that's the very first technically calendar that the Egyptians found.
Interesting.
Yeah.
These are their dates.
I think, and I think our guide was explaining how they would do any sort of major festivals were indicated on this calendar, big celebrations, any major festivity, whatever it may be, they would mark them on this calendar, and they would follow them annually. And then these are the different dates you can kind of see here written in the different numbers.
Wow.
So very, very, very cool to see how methodical they were with their year, with their calendars too.
Yeah, it's actually insane.
And Harson was saying, how big some of these crocodiles were. So this is where we went to the Crocodile Museum. I think this area was dedicated to Sobek. And
right. This is the crocodile god.
Yeah, exactly. And you could see, like Harson was saying, from the egg all the way from its, like very child, infant stages, mummies, all the way up to full blown monsters, dinosaurs.
I have to read more into this, but from what I know is that there's always usually a jackal headed god in an Egyptian like sarcophagus area, because the jackal was the Anubis, right? And I didn't know this, but apparently jackals have an interesting digestive system where they can digest like, what's that, not raw meat but dead meat, like meat that's gone bad. What do you call that?
They're technically scavengers.
Yes, they're scavengers. So the jackal god is like really important for the Egyptians. But it's interesting. I have to read more into this about the crocodile.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's like revered like this everywhere, but it's definitely important.
Yeah.
So that picture with the 11.5-foot crocodile does not do it justice. Like, that thing was huge.
I can't even imagine Like
dinosaurs.
What? My God.
Just dinosaurs.
Wow.
They really
Wow.
were.
Yeah. Just very, very beautiful, unique. Again, emphasis on unique. Each location, each destination,
Yeah.
very different from the other. A lot of, again, some similarities when it comes to constructs, because even some of these temples and their pylons they would construct, they had a certain architecture in mind, right? That they're familiar with and renowned. But when you get
Mhm.
there were unique components to each one that wouldn't match the previous one. The stories on each one wouldn't be the exact same. They would be ever so slightly different.
Yeah,
Even if
Harson,
they're talking about the same person.
absolutely, Harson. I love that you pointed out that each pillar had a different story, so they were not just replicants of the. They're not like the same. They each tell a different story, which is like going back to like how much attention to detail they paid, like to all of these things.
It blows my mind. And what's crazy about, so is this one Esna?
Sorry, Esna is up here.
Okay, so what's this one? This one was
I think
Edfu?
Edfu. I believe this is Edfu.
Okay, so what's crazy about this one was it was completely buried. It was yeah,
Oh, they had to dig this up.
to like the tip of the bilums, which are like the two the towers right there.
Jeez.
All of this was completely buried. And if you scroll down to the panorama picture, if you look through the opening, you can see the houses in the background, how deep they had to dig to get this temple out.
It's also in amazing condition. Like given that.
Yeah. I think Esna as well, which was further down, was also dug out. This one. This is Esna. Yeah.
This one was
Jeez.
no. Isn't that Komombo?
No, this is Esna. Because this one was the most colorful one. I remember.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one there, I see that on Instagram all the time. I think.
Yeah, Esna was by far the most color we've ever seen in any of the.
That is so beautiful.
These aren't recolored. Like, this is original coloring from back in ancient times, and how they came up with each unique color and each unique dye, and have it not only last thousands of years, was well thought out too, right? Like, they can't have something fade off in 50 to 100 years. They wanted to make it last. So they did their research. They tried different materials and saw, hey, with this type of red paste and red brick paste, we needed to mix in egg whites to make it last longer and make it have that pasty effect for painting. Hey, for this yellow, we need to they just had, each color had its own unique different ingredients to make it that vibrant and that color, but also make it last for thousands of years.
It was, that one caught me off guard.
Yeah,
just the sheer so most of the temples the Christians tried to burn down. That's why it's black on the inside on the top.
Uh-huh.
They wanted to destroy it, but they couldn't touch this one because it was buried. They didn't even know it was there. So that's why this one kept its color.
Yeah, wow. A lot of the temples we went to, a lot of them were burned, the roof and the walls. Some of the hieroglyphs, you can see even right here, they were etched over, they were carved over to, take away from who the pharaoh was, right? They didn't want to give power to that pharaoh. They didn't want to, empower the Egyptians who believed in the old ways, right? So they wanted to destroy much of the history as possible.
This is the challenging the paganists.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I saw this at Nemrut too. It was just sad to see all the heads cut off of these statues, and it's this thing is, it's sad, but it's so glad. I'm glad to see that
part of history. It's all part of history, right?
Yeah, it's all history.
It's sad to see, but still important.
Wow.
This was one town we went to visit around Esna there that it's over 100 and how many years was it, Harson? 120, 100 and something?
Over 150.
over 150 years old. So you can kind of see that everything is falling apart.
Wow.
But the crazy part is, in some of these houses, people still live in it. So it's literally like falling in on itself. And as you can see from a pattern, we tried Kosheri almost at every destination, if not every destination. And the differences between each one, right? Very unique in their own. And it was beautiful. Yeah. And then we made our way to Luxor. And Harson, this is all you, baby.
Luxor was my favorite city. Absolutely my favorite city. It was completely different from all the others. I can't even explain it. You just have to experience it, man. Like if you're going to go to Luxor, like you have to, if you're going to go to Egypt, you have to explore Luxor. Two things that are in Luxor. First one, as you can see right there, this is Karnak. This was in ancient times the most powerful temple in all of Egypt.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know Karnak was in Luxor. Oh my god.
Yeah, Karnak was in Luxor, and this is the most. I said, most.
It's like the biggest temple.
It's basically a fortress. It's basically a fortress.
Yeah. It held all the political power, like it held like everything. People all over Egypt came to do offerings. So what the Greeks and Romans did, they would start building other temples to destroy Karnak's power. That's why there's so many temples in Egypt, because they were like, oh, you don't need to go to Karnak to do your offerings and pray. And this, yeah. So this is the wishing beetle. Or scarab, sorry.
Scarab.
You go around 7 times, I believe.
7 times.
And this was like one of the traditions in Karnak. If you paid enough, if you made enough offerings, you can go in and you can do that. That picture of M there with the obelisk behind him. Yeah. That one. That was actually crazy. That's my first time seeing an obelisk.
Fully construct, it was towering over everything.
Yeah. So just the sheer history of Karnak, I was just like, man, like this place, like I stole a rock from there, you know. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
souvenir.
Yeah. Quick little souvenir. So one thing that's really cool about Karnak is it has the Sphinx alleyway, which is 2.8 kilometers, which connects it to, if we scroll down just a bit more, Luxor. So we went to Karnak and then we went to this museum, which was very well, like there's so much stuff to learn in there. One was the warrior king, Tutmosis. I think he was probably one of my favorites to learn about. Again, our guide explained everything. We lost Eric in there for a little bit. But anyways, going from Karnak to the 2.8 kilometers of the sphinxes that were made, we go all the way to Luxor Temple. And it's like they made a highway from temple to temple.
Yeah. And it's almost like a rite of passage, right? Like to go do that walk.
Yeah. Because apparently in like ancient times, once you started the walk, you had to finish it. Because there was no way of getting out of that trench.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm just trying to actually remember. I know that obelisk that you're standing by, Emerson. You're in the blue shirt over there. I think that was Hatshepsut's, because from my homework, like what I read was Hatshepsut was most proud of her obelisks. They were the biggest ones. I think they're insane. They're like 2,500 tons. They're huge. Yep. They're made of marble, I think, or pink granite. I'm not sure. But they're heavy and they're made out of one piece.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about that one, but maybe you're right. But that one's unique because when Tutmosis came back, which was Hatshepsut's brother, he erased her name from the cartouche.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me, which one is that? The one where he tries to erase. That's the one.
That's the big one, like way up top in Karnak.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was just
crazy.
You're gonna put your name in Karnak after you took power from me? came back, and I don't know if did we actually take a picture of it?
I don't know if we did.
But it's like it's like actually etched out, like the cartouche.
Yo, you know what, Harson? That is one of the most talked about things in every Egyptology class.
Yeah, right? It's crazy.
Because Tutmosis III came, he was like, hey, I don't know what it was exactly. It's like, we had a female pharaoh. That's not okay. Let's just take her name out. Yeah.
She was actually really good to the people, apparently.
Yeah. She had a lot of construction projects, and we haven't gone to Hatshepsut's temple, which I'm so impressed that you guys went. But yeah. I'm just getting ahead of myself.
That was amazing. But yeah, we'll get there.
Wow. So at
some point, even Luxor Temple at some point was fully covered in just sand and rock and everything, that they ended up building a temple on top of it.
A mosque.
A mosque, and without realizing what was underneath, right? And then over the years, when they started digging, they're like, "Wait, what are all these pylons? What are all these statues? What the heck did we build on top of?" So you can see literally a mosque that's built over layers and layers and layers of stone that they eventually carved out. They still preserved the mosque as history, and it's still functional, I believe.
Yes. Like I was about to say, you can kind of see people there. Like at night, it was like bustling.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. As if a civilization so big, so large, so thriving can just disappear like that in a bunch of rubble.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can see that Luxor Temple wasn't built by Egyptians with that picture right there.
This one?
Yeah.
What's this? This is...
So apparently I'm a time traveler. One of my friends is like, "Is that you?"
Yo, he does look like you.
I'm like, wait, that does look like me. Wait a minute.
Wow.
So did Roman.
Who are these guys? These are the first Christian Romans? They're
just Romans, yeah. I'm not too sure if it's Christian, I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But they're definitely Romans.
Yeah.
Jeez. So Harson, I can see you over there contemplating on everything.
Feast, and we had to have the local foods, and man, kofta, traditional rice, the breads, the veggies.
I just love that ever since you go over all the temple stuff and you start zooming in on the food.
Food, man, I'm telling you, it's just so much flavor every meal. Oh,
look at those kebabs.
Delicious. And then our guide set us up with a
horse ride,
horse riding. So we went horse riding, and along the way he would point out all the different things. So we across the city. So we got to explore Luxor on a carriage ride, essentially, and while we're catching the sunset. So each day we got to see at least the sunrise or the sunset, sometimes both, and in such a unique and iconic way. So it was just fun to be kind of carriaged around and then pointing out.
This was actually super fun.
Yeah.
Carriage ride?
Oh, so much fun. And narrow market ways, little alley corner ways, like.
Yeah, because we started at like sundown and we finished at night.
Yeah.
We finished at night in front of that mosque, and that's Luxor Temple right there, and you can see the mosque lit up.
Yeah. And we finished up our day there, and then the next day. Oh my
was this sunrise?
Sunrise. So we woke up, I think, at 2 a.m.
Why'd you say sunrise? This is 3 a.m.
I think 2:30. I think we woke up. 2 or 2:30. We woke up, and our bus shows up to pick us up. Our van there, and it takes us out in the darkness to take a boat ride. And then the boat ride, they give us a little snack, a little morning something, and then coffee, little Twinkie bar. And then we go, and then out in the desert they have the hot air balloons firing up, getting ready. So we catch the sunrise taking a hot air balloon up, and it was both our first times taking a hot air balloon ride. And what of like an amazing place to do it at, over Luxor, in
Jeez.
Egypt over the Nile. Like you see, the Nile is golden. Just the rays of the morning sunrise
God.
highlighting the Nile, just beautiful golden Nile. And we went up to, I think, 3,000 feet.
3,500.
3,500? Yeah.
3,500 max, yeah.
Yeah, and these hotter balloons. And,
You know what I loved about it? So we get into this field and they're pumping these hot air balloons, right? And I'm just like, oh damn, this is gonna be really crowded. There's a lot. Our driver takes us all the way to the last one.
yo,
So we're leading the charge. I'm like, thank you, God.
Yo,
I don't want to be in the middle where there's hot air balloons everywhere. Like we want
blessed,
like,
blessed.
blessed.
So we're literally looking over the back, like over here where we can see the temples. And then when we look in the front where there's no hot air balloons, that's where you can see the Valley of the Kings.
Yeah, so you'll see in this video here, you get to
Yeah.
see some of the valleys of the kings and queens. Everything's kind of carved into the mountains, and the kind of roadways there, and just a overview. Like because you can't have drones there, right? This was like the next best thing. Is you take a hot air balloon up and you get this aerial viewpoint of everything around you, and and then the landing maneuver.
Oh yeah, that caught me off guard. He's like, all right, duck down. We're gonna land. I'm like,
Was it a rough landing?
no. It was pretty smooth.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
nice.
really smooth. Right
Nice.
into a random farmer's field.
Yeah, that's. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. These farmers just waking up to their like roosters and stuff, and they see a hot air balloon in their field.
It's like, oh, they're doing it again.
Oh my God! Hold up. This is the Colossi of Memnon.
And then right after we get picked
Jeez.
up, and then we went with our guide again to the Colossi of Memnon, and this is
Jeez.
just out and about in the middle of the desert, outside the valleys, and just towering over everything, just huge colossals. Look at that, just oh man.
So the
Damn.
cool thing about this was our guide's like, we don't know why they built this right here. Because it's not an entrance to the Valley of the Kings.
Yeah, it's just in
There's
the middle of the desert.
Yeah, they're like, okay, guys, we need 2 statues here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
So I was watching this documentary where this was like a whole temple that was made here for Amenhotep III, and there's like 2 here, and then there's 2 in the back, and then there was 2 more in the back. So this was like a whole structure, and apparently because of flooding and rain for like hundreds of years, this thing just got wrecked. But
Yeah.
I don't know too much about this, but that's all I know. I know that there was like a huge temple here, and it was a mistake to build it here. It wasn't a good decision.
No, but
Yeah.
this is what stands remaining of it. That's a
Yeah.
reminder.
The reason I say that is because from what I know is that the Valley of the Kings and the Queens, that was a smart place to put the royal tombs because it does not rain. It is super dry there.
There were many reasons, so that was definitely one of them, and that's where we went to actually next, Valley of Kings, and there they strategically placed them due to weather conditions, and also robber conditions. So grave robbing was
the
well
robbing.
renowned to this point in ancient
Exactly.
Egypt. So what the pharaohs and queens wanted to do was, well, primarily the pharaohs, is they wanted to go out in the middle of nowhere where it's easy to carve into the rock. So they found a lot of limestone and different rock beds there that were easy to carve into, but also far enough away that it was in the middle of nowhere, right? So to get their access there. And one unique
Super
thing
hidden.
that they did was they blindfolded all the workers that would actually get there with the guards or whatever, escorts at the time, that they didn't know where they were going to go work. They just knew that they were going to go work that day, right? So they was completely hidden away and anonymous for the longest time. So no grave robbers could actually go there and start digging away.
Man. So
they thought of,
yeah, go ahead, Harson.
no, I was just like, it's crazy that they even thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
it's
right
already
because the graves were getting robbed like crazy.
Yeah, it's like a secluded place. It's like surrounded by mountains, and they're still like, no. blind them.
Mm,
It's just insane.
Yeah, and this is where actually the temperatures start to get hot. I
Yeah.
think Valley of Kings was like 44 Celsius.
Yeah.
It was starting to pick up in terms of temperature. Everyone was starting to feel it for sure.
So my question about this place is they moved like over 60 sarcophagi back to Cairo. So here, what did you guys find here? Because I know they moved the sarcophagi. Or the mummies, maybe.
A lot of the mummies were removed. Some of the sarcophagi and obviously the tombs and everything were accessible. But even the sarcophagi, they would actually take them off. So it was mostly the tombs. I think only one or two of them still had mummies in it. But the time we went, I don't. Maybe like 2 mummies were remaining. Rest just got moved to different exhibitions or museums.
Okay. This guys, go ahead, Ars.
No, I was just saying for the mummies, I think we had to pay for those.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like extra price if you want to go into like the special tombs and stuff.
Yeah.
Valley of the Kings, huh?
Yeah. So we got to go and see the ancient burial grounds of all the different olden pharaohs. And then Valley of Queens, same thing as well.
So the when I saw the story behind this, there was a family called the Razul family. They found where this Valley of the Kings and the Queens is, and they were questioned by the Antiquities Department, and by question I mean they were tortured.
Yeah.
Until they gave the answer, and then finally the older brother of the family, his name was Muhammad. He came and he said, "Look, we're fighting too much in the family. And the one who reveals gets the least treasure. So whatever, I'm just going to tell you where it is." So he reveals it to the officer. They find out where it is, and they quickly move out all the mummies in like 5 days. They do it as fast as they can. And everything was here. Like, I think it was Ramses to Tutankhamun, Akhenaten. Everybody was here.
Everybody was here. Tutankhamun, Tutankhamun. Yeah, he was here. Ramses III, Ramses IV.
Oh my God.
Ramses IV. There were so
Ramses,
many.
man. Ramses was the biggest one, I think. Even Amenhotep III and the first, from my notes over here, it says the first king to be buried in the Valley of the Kings was Tutmosis I, and then Hatshepsut followed that tradition, and so on and so on.
Yeah. There was just so many, man. It was truly, when they say Valley of Kings, they truly mean it.
3,000 years, man. That's insane.
Yeah.
These hieroglyphs over here, guys. Like, well, where was this?
This was so for some reason in the Valley of the Queens, the hieroglyphs at least were more colorful and preserved more. So this is actually in the Valley of the Queens.
Yeah.
I could see the headdress and the headcloth with the cobra, and I see over here it looks female. Wow.
Or the one on the left?
Sorry, the one on the right. And the one on the left is the pharaoh. I can't tell.
So, yeah, because of the crown, right?
Yeah, I see the crown. The lower and upper Egypt.
Exactly. Yeah. This is when, uniting both upper and lower together and then giving eternal life. So this would be the king.
Wow. So, the eternal life, the Ankh. The Ankh.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah, it was very, very surreal, and everything kind of just carved in the middle of nowhere, and how well preserved it was.
Were there a lot of Ankh souvenirs?
So many.
I'd like to have one. Damn.
Everywhere.
So I was a genius, and I bought one here and bought it there.
They still try to sell him more, though.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and this is the Temple of Hatshepsut and Queen, and it was again very unique in the architecture, multi-level, multi-layered,
into a mountain,
carved into a literal mountain, and again, it's just it was so colorful. I would say this and Esna would be the 2 most colorful places for ancient paintings to date, and you can see even like a vulture that's flying, right? Like how much detail there was, not only in the work of the stencil work, but also the colors that it would bring. The cobras, the suns, like everything was so vibrant, and again, not edited whatsoever. This is just a raw photo, and everything in her name was etched out and scratched out because they did not like the idea of a female pharaoh ruling.
Yeah, guys, if anyone who's listening, guys, this time of Egypt, which is the 18th dynasty, is like the golden age. This is like actually like one of the most prosperous times from Thutmose I, II, Hatshepsut III, and so on. This is like peak Egypt.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you skipped it, but one of her greatest trials was going to Somalia and like securing trade there. So when she came back, she actually brought a tree from Somalia.
Interesting.
In front of her temple. Yeah.
So apparently, oh my God, that is huge. That is huge. This is from the land of Punt.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Horn of Africa. Jeez.
Yeah,
so
she had many great endeavors.
From what I read, like she even established the first zoo ever. Like she brought like giraffes and like exotic animals, plants and trees and everything from there. It's crazy. I just love the fact that you guys even went there, man. That's insane.
Yeah,
originally, was this in our itinerary?
Yes, it was.
It was? Okay, yeah. So I thought, I clearly skipped that because I thought Mahar just brought us to here, and I'm like, what the heck? This is beautiful. Oh my God, like we were going to skip this?
We actually had more in our itinerary on top of this, but again, 45 degrees Celsius day, we had to cut a few things short.
Jeez.
Monkey of the Valleys was one.
Yeah. Go to the Monkey's Valleys. But yeah, we went and each of the temples, again, this was, I believe, Ramses III's palace, if I'm not mistaken. And you could see here that there's like a multi-opening level to it.
Oh, wow. Yes.
And this was the influence of, I believe, the Syrians, right?
The Syrians, yeah.
Syrians. So when the kings at that time, when the pharaohs at the time were in combat and wars, and they would do trades or whatever it may be with the different countries residing, they would also pick up different architectural components from the other countries and then bring that back in to implement into their own architecture. So this was a very, very unique, one-of-a-kind temple or palace that was built with the influence of another country in mind.
Jeez, these architects are so smart.
So smart, man. And they bring it to life. And this was his throne, one of his thrones. Yeah.
Hey man, cut it off.
This was one of the toilets. They had ancient toilets, holes in the ground.
Wait, that's his bathroom?
Yeah, this is a bathroom.
No, man.
We can.
Oh, okay.
There he is.
Okay, there's Harson. Yeah. You gotta try the bathroom. I love how everyone's just waiting.
Yeah, damn it, man.
Is he done?
You can see a lot of it was under excavation and reconstruction to bring it back into its full glory. But you see here, this was something really cool and very unique. Is this was the deepest carvings of hieroglyphics anywhere in Egypt we saw. Like you can see, I could fit my whole hand in there into one etching and one carving. And the reason, I think this was Ramses III, right? And I think he did it this way specifically so that no one could destroy it or carve over it.
Yep.
Because during this time is when people would start carving over it, etching away at it to destroy it, right? So he's like, I want my name right here in this cartouche. I want all of my things to be so well known that, and none of it to be destroyed and well preserved. So I want every laborer to carve deeper and deeper. Every worker should carve deep. So it was.
I think Mahar said it was like 20 centimeters.
Yeah.
So my next mission is when I go there, I'm gonna carve in Harson's name in a cartouche, just like that.
Yes. And then I think we went to the Valley of Queens after, and finished off there to see some of the different tombs, obviously the architecture, everything carved into the mountains. There was an old, somewhat of a preserved, exposed mummy there. Some of the famous ones here, Tomb of Titi, the different sarcophagus, and this is where people were passing out. It was hot. There was a lady who fainted. It was just couldn't bear the heat. And then we had some more sugarcane out there.
This is
You hydrate. Sugarcane juice.
To hydrate. And and then again, just food and salt.
Oh my god. So I'm gonna just interject right now. The reason why he brings up people fainting is because I fainted.
Wait, who? What?
Harson fainted. Yeah.
Harson, you fainted? What happened, man?
Yeah, see that meal right there? Yeah, that was my last supper.
That was his last supper.
that was my last supper.
Because I know, Emerson, when I was chatting with you, you were like, "Yo, man, we had to kill one day. Harson's knocked out or something."
He wasn't feeling well. Yeah, he wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
So this was the day. So after, I would say it wasn't necessarily the meal. I would say it's definitely the heat. After being all full day, like we were spending hours on end out in the heat, in 45, 40, like it just dry heat, right? No shade, like you don't see a single cloud in the sky at all.
Yeah.
Like there were other tourists too on this trail that were just dropping, and then they had to get like an ambulance out and whatnot too. But after we finished Valley of Queens, we got some sugarcane, which probably played a big factor in why Harson was unwell too. But it was like a completely street vendor who it's not very hygienic. It's not street food, right? So he probably it's definitely a combination of the heat plus the food from the street food, and Harson saw the light. He almost went to the afterlife.
Yeah, Harson's all good. I'm sure the pharaohs would guide you real well out there.
Yeah. I'm the land of the gods.
So we had to.
It was a little scary.
It was very scary. It was very.
No, it's like blessing that this guy was there, because it's like I just started cramping, and then I was like, dude, I'm getting hot flashes, and we're driving back to our Airbnb.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he heard hot flashes, he's like, yo, something's wrong. And I was like, yo, stop the car. And then I got out of the car, and then everything started cramping, man, like everything. And you know when I knew it was bad? My calves started cramping.
Oh my god, it's very
I didn't have calves. I'm like, oh no, what's this thing? Anyway, so that started cramping. I turned around and I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna faint. And apparently I tried to reach for the car, but I didn't make
it. So he like pretty much went into like his whole body went into like shock. Like it just passed out, cramped up. He just passed out as he was standing, reaching towards the car. So he dropped. Like he was dead weight drop, and I grabbed him, and then the driver grabbed him from the other side, and we like, because he was about to like pretty much eat a car. Like he was about to face plant right into the car. So we grabbed him, and his whole body just like dropped dead weight, like limp, right? So we twisted his body, turned it over so he's not lying on his face. So we laid him on his back. I held him pretty much in my arms, so I kind of kept his head from cranking back, because again, he's limp. So we're just like, I just held him in play. The driver's like checking for a pulse, making sure like, you know, he has obviously a pulse, he's breathing, and then like talking to him, trying to, you know, resuscitate and bring him back. And entire time, like we're just making sure, you know, he's got enough air coming in, but at the same time, he's not in an uncomfortable, weird position where he's, you know, cramping still further. Oh man, it was the scariest thing, man. It was terrifying.
Damn.
I wake up. I wake up and like, I don't know if you guys have fainted before, but your vision is so tiny when you're waking up, and it like slowly opens, and then all I see is like the driver, like I guess he was like fanning me or rubbing my chest.
Yeah,
he was just like,
both.
Yeah, he was like both. Then I look at M, and I was like, what the hell? Then all I see is Eric run into the scene. He's like, he needs water. And I was like, what? I was just like, did I just faint? And then M's like, yeah. I'm like, what? The hell, man.
It was so scary, man. One of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life. And
Oh,
I've seen a
man.
lot of scary things. I would say that's number one.
I'm so sorry to hear that, man. God damn.
And yeah, so that day, like we just, honestly, man, and this was like where the kindness of strangers, of the locals, really just shine, right? Like the driver didn't have to wait for us, he didn't have to do shit, but he's like, no, I know where to take you, where I can get you some fresh drinks, some fresh juice, some waters. Like, what else can I get you? I'm like, we really need, because like I'm pretty sure there was a big component of it was like a heat stroke, so I'm like, we need to get him electrolytes. Can you get me any sort of salt where we have potassium in it, obviously sodium in it? So he went to the local store. Out of his own money, he went and bought Harson salt, water from the store, mango juice to get him enough like sugar in his blood. Like, out of his own like kindness, he waited the entire time till Harson was feeling even better, which was we took a couple hours, to be honest, right? Like recovering from that, and he waited the entire time. He could have left us and done his whatever else he needed to do, make money, but he's like, nope, I want to make sure your friend is good before I even think about anything.
Nope.
The entire time he's like texting me saying, hey, how's your friend? Can I get anything else for you? Like, man, he just, the kindness of people, man, like of strangers, complete strangers, right? That really, throughout the whole trip, like we were very blessed to be with good people.
That is a good word. We were blessed by every single person we met.
Yeah.
Absolutely blessed by every single person we met. The actual kindness of those people, man, insane.
One of the highlights, usually one of the highlights, is the people.
Yeah.
Right? Like how good they were to us was the people. So it was an experience for sure. Like it was really painful to see Harson in that light, to go through that, but same time, like we could have that could have been in a much worse situation with much different people, but we were very blessed to have that experience in an area where everyone was friendly, kind, able to take care and make sure Harson was good, back on his feet, and then we could continue on our adventures.
Yeah, damn, I'm just blown away. I didn't know anything about this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, Harson, we almost lost you in the Valley of the Kings.
I mean,
the Queens.
Oh, okay.
He's kind of soft. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Cut that out.
At least it wasn't in the Valley of the Monkeys, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it should have been the Valley of the Monkeys. For sure.
Like, man, my tomb's over there to drop me off.
He's with his people,
Man, all I can say is if I came, that would have been me like 5 times, man. There's no way I could have survived that. That's insane.
Oh, bro, there was 100 factors just that day that were affecting me. Like,
oh yeah.
Wow. I was like the brain fog, the mental fatigue, the lack of sleep sometimes.
Lack of sleep, lack of
food. We woke up at 2, right? To get to
we woke up at 2 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, obviously just heat, nonstop heat everywhere, just drying out there. Street food stacking on top of that. Like, there was just so many factors that played into that. And up until this point, he was tanking all of it.
Oh yeah,
he was good.
I actually felt fine. It was just in the restaurant.
Like even your energy levels in Valley of Queens, like as we're wrapping up, you were still great.
Yeah.
And then after we finished eating is when you were like, oh, I feel a cramp coming. I don't feel so good. It's like, oh shit.
That's actually a good lesson, for anyone who's listening to is this kind of thing can happen, like a heat stroke type thing and a fainting situation. It happens because of a combination of factors. It's not just one thing.
Yeah.
Man, that's scary shit, man.
And like we didn't eat anything all day either, so we're just
running on adrenaline.
that was the entire trip.
That was the whole trip. TV,
baby. I'm still trying to get my adrenaline
back. So I can see here you got some Bono salt over here, and then I see you're at the Habu Temple, I think, and then you're in a pool.
Yeah, so the salt was for Harson. The temple is just a memoir to remember that we went to also the Habu Temple, which was not in our itinerary initially, but this was one that got added in. The pool, we actually got really fortunate to stay. One of our Airbnb hosts was she has her own villa, her and her husband. So in her villa, they had their own private pool. So that night, after a long day in the heat, I got to jump in the pool, relax.
I love it. He's like, yo, man, we almost lost Harson, but let me just dip in this pool real quick.
Oh, Harson was knocked out in the Airbnb. He was just chilling. He was just resting up.
Someone actually knocked me out. So
yeah. So then I was like, you know what? I need to freshen up. I need to cool down. So I hopped.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it was such an insanely stressful situation, and then it's like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, and that was the one of the craziest things. There was a lot of crazy things. That was one of the craziest things during that trip. Next stop is Hurghada by the eastern shoreline of Egypt, hugging the Red Sea. So this is where so Harson at this point is resting, recovering.
Mm-hmm. You took a day off, right, Harson?
Yeah, I took 2 days off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So resting, recovering, and making sure he's good for the remainder of the trip. In the meantime, Eric and I, the first day we just chilled, made sure Harson's good, made sure we get everything we need for the whole stay, kind of explore the vicinity of our area. But then we spent the next 2 days scuba diving in the Red Sea. And
God.
Man, like the waters here were just something like the waters look photoshopped or After Effect. Like it was just so vibrant blue and so colorful. These are all just raw videos and photos. And then Eric was doing his open water scuba diving lessons there. And you can see kind of like the background, right? You see the mountains in the back. You see the land here where the main cities are, and then the ocean, the sea, which is just so vibrant and colorful. And just being in the freaking Red Sea, man, and the coral beds, the wildlife, the marine life, everything is just thriving.
Because I know you're scuba certified. Was everyone scuba certified? Like Harson, you and or just you?
Just me. Harson and Eric were going to go finish their scuba. They did their first half of their course in Canada, and then they were going to finish up their second half in Egypt while we were there. So then they get their full certification there.
Do you need a full certification to go in the Red Sea here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we went with the PADI recognized dive shop. So there you need to have your full certification to even step forward on the ship, to even go out to dive.
So Eric was good to go. Like both of you were.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So I had my certification, everything with me, my dive logs, everything. So I just showed them that, and I was good to go. Rent all my gear with them. Eric had all of his credentials and stuff from his previous testings and whatnot ready to show too. So we were prepared again going forward. Amazing. And you can just see the coral life, man. The marine beds there, just everything's so surreal, right? All the fish, all the different types of crustaceans, all the animal life there. Like that's a different type of pufferfish. I think I saw like 5 different species of pufferfish. So colorful and unique in their own ways. Anything from small little common fish to large parrotfish. Right here is a stonefish hidden away in the back. Glassfish. I can't even name all of these. There's just so many different types floating and swimming around, and just each one with its own unique requirements, right? This one was very, very cool. I saw, I think, about maybe 4 or 5 stingrays, and the stingrays out here in the sea, in the Red Sea, are like, they're almost like a silver in color, but they have these blue polka dots and like a yellow lining around their eyes. They were just so colorful and unique to any other stingray I've ever seen. And just being able to swim in the school of thousands of fish, thousands, like easily thousands, and they don't care. You're gliding amongst them, and they're like, oh, he's not chasing or hunting me, I'm cool. And this was another stingray, and again, fish of every color: blues, reds, yellows, pinks, like you name it, just swimming around. There's a lionfish creeping, hiding in the back as well.
Wow, look at the stripes, huh?
You could see, exactly, the stripes. You could see a moray eel right here. I think I saw about like 4 moray eels, and one was massive. It scared the life out of me. I was like, "What the heck is that thing?" And they're known to be, they're carnivorous. They're known to be a little bit aggressive and territorial. So I didn't want to get too close either. But man, just the color, just the life that's thriving in the Red Sea was just phenomenal. Another pufferfish, different species right here. And then all the corals too, right? Like each coral to be its own different species and family, from sponges to hard tree-like ones to ones that are like algae types floating around. Like very, 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 very beautiful.
My God.
Just highly recommend for us. Get your scuba diving certification done, and it's a whole different world out there, man. Down there,
right.
it was just something else.
Yeah, this is very inspiring because, there's a couple of Greek ruins here, about 40 kilometers from my place. So definitely is on my list. Yeah.
You're in like prime destination to be going to those sculptures and those sunken cities. Atlantis, pretty much.
Atlantis. The lost cities.
The lost cities.
You gotta find it, man. Yeah.
And so that was our 2 days in Hurghada. So we went with a really nice dive shop. You'll see that they debrief you before every dive, the depth we're going to go into, the distance we're going to go into, how much pressure we're going to have in our tanks, what the different peninsulas, the different depths, the different sites we're going to be seeing in each one. So the dive masters give you a full debriefing before you go, before every single dive. So where you're going to be, what if an emergency happens, what you're going to go do next, who your dive buddy is going to be that you're going to watch out for each other for, all the different sites that you can come across, what to maybe look out for, what to look forward to. So it's very, very cool to have that experience of a professional diver on each one, a professional dive team in each one, and kind of go with the pros, go with the masters, and a lot of resting and recovering in every site and destination.
Because I think even when you go underwater, you're using pressurized air, and it does take a toll a bit on your body. But you guys are experienced as well. But I'm sure,
big time. It's very like the physicality is there, right? Like you're still diving, you're still swimming, you're still paddling, you're still working out your lungs a lot, right? You're out in the sun on a long day, so it is very taxing on the body and mind. And again, early morning, late nights too. Just a few hours of sleep every night was.
This is like back to back adventure, man.
Back to back, and then we finished up our 2 days of diving. We met up with Harson, and then we went out to explore Hurghada. So we went
Harson's
to
back.
Harson's back, and
we tried to hit up the local beach there.
Yeah,
the paid one, but unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, everything closes at 5.
Yeah, so strange. So strange.
Yeah, so. Couldn't do that, so we went straight to go get food at this I would say it's a lot more westernized restaurant.
Oh, this is more catered to like tourists and stuff.
So Hurghada, Sharm el Sheikh, and Cairo are the 3 most popular touristed locations in Egypt. So everything in these 3 cities were very a lot more westernized than you would see anywhere else. Yeah, and then we went to this beach, it was like a beachfront kind of view, so a restaurant overlooking the coastal line, and it was definitely more of a fine dining. This was probably our one maybe fine dining experience there, where we got to try some of the more different delicacies and the drinks, man. Fresh mango, guava, and strawberry.
Oh my God!
Never get strawberry.
Oh, deadly 3-pack combo right here. This was like drugs. Like it was so. And trying out some of the traditional apps, and then each one of us got something different. I think for this one here, and I saw camel steak on the menu, and I had to do it. I had to do it.
Okay.
So very, it was a lot gamier than like a cow or beef, for example, but still very similar in textures and cuts, and very good. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I love how throughout all of this, Eric's just being a super champ, just cruising.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's on autopilot.
He is on autopilot. Yeah. So we did 2 days.
That camel steak and that sauce. Sorry, yeah.
Glorious.
Come on, man. Oh, God.
Very, very memorable. One of my favorite food spots there, like food types to try there for sure.
Mhm.
So I would say, yeah, we did 2 days, 2.5 days Hurghada technically, and then we flew out next day again, early morning, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. We were at the airport, catching the first plane out to Sharm el Sheikh, so a little bit further east on the Sharm province, and got right away, went to our Airbnb, checked in, and then we already were being picked up to go to our next excursion. Next adventure is out in the middle of the desert. We're going ATV.
Oh my God. This is still in Sharm el Sheikh, right?
So we left Hurghada and we're in Sharm el Sheikh now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as you can see, we're all wrapped up. We got our shades on. We got
Nice.
our full scarves wrapped up around us, and we're just flooring it, full sending out in the middle of the desert, and just ripping it in the dunes.
Jeez, that's beautiful.
And,
I know you can kind of smell the water, the ocean here. Or I think it's the Mediterranean. I'm not sure which one.
I think so.
The Red Sea? Sorry, the Red Sea.
Past the red, yeah. Okay. And it's like you could smell the water for sure. It's definitely Hurghada and Sharm were very humid compared to any of the other cities we went to. But yeah, it was again just each place being very unique from the other one, right?
Damn.
And we just we were full sending it. Harson and Eric were doing some like Dom Toretto and like some like they were just like doing some Need for Speed, Fast and Furious action out there. So it was just
Harson's
fun, man.
Back from the dead, baby.
He's back from the dead.
You see me flexing in that picture?
Yeah. Man's ready, you know. So
love it.
everyone is, back in that momentum again. You can kind of see the scale of some of these mountains. Like these are, another group full sending it, and just the mountains that we're scaling above us, just crazy. And you can see when we got back to Airbnb, just dust everywhere, man. It got everywhere.
Wow.
So this is like glitter or eyeshadow.
Got some makeup on.
Yeah, man.
Getting all prettied up, huh?
Yeah.
So this is how crazy this trip is, right? Like it still hasn't slowed down. We literally scuba dive back to back on no sleep, right? Barely any sleep. We catch the first flight out the next morning. So we're at the airport like 3 a.m. We catch the first flight out. We land. We go to our Airbnb. We right away go out to go ATVing in the desert. We come back to the Airbnb, do some groceries because we need to carb up as we're hiking Mount Sinai that very night.
Oh my God.
In the darkness. So we haven't slept in like how many days? We just finished like diving. And as soon as you finish diving, you're not allowed, especially consecutive dives. We did 4 dives in total. You're not supposed to go on any sort of flight or any sort of elevation gain because of decompression sickness and that differential in elevation. But us being the madmen we are, already, recovering from passing out and all these other things, we're like, well, screw it. We're going to hop on our flight because we only got so much time.
Wow.
Maybe, a little bit of stupidity, a little bit of recklessness, but we were determined, right? We had heart.
Almost lost that too.
We almost lost that too.
What you talking about?
That's a good point. So just strictly willpower, adrenaline, whatever you want to call it. We go to a local grocery store. We pick up a bunch of dates, pretzels with the salted pretzels, and a lot of bread, and we carb load. So we just stuff ourselves with carbs and water, and then we pack a little bit because that very night we drive out from our stay, which is in Sharm el Sheikh. We go all the way up north, about 3.5 hours to the base of Sinai, right? And as you can see, this was where the hike started happening. So the objective is we go with a guided group, and we're hiking up the mountain in the darkness to catch the sunrise first thing. And this is kind of the pilgrimage, the rite of passage of Moses, right? So we're trying to do the same thing. Harson was still recovering at this point, so Eric and I were going, and Eric was not feeling well at all. I'm pretty sure he got either elevation sickness or something else, some sort of other viral disease or virus, and then he wasn't feeling very well at all. So we're fighting through lack of sleep, a full physical exertion, not feeling well from something else. We just back to back everything, and we're hiking in the darkness.
Damn.
And you can just see, man, like pitch black. I use my night sight on my phone just to capture some of the stars. I wish I brought my camera, but just in the pitch darkness, we're going up a mountain. And I packed a headlamp. I packed extra layers of clothing, so heavier sweaters, full pants.
There's the camels hiking too, man. That's
because
insane.
The local Bedouins are there. They know that a lot of the tourist groups that come aren't fit, aren't in shape to make the hike, because this is the second tallest mountain in all of Egypt. It's 7,500 feet tall. Like, it's a very tall mountain. So they know. Yeah.
Is this St. Catherine Mountain or a different one?
So St. Catherine's, you could see St. Catherine's Mountain peak from the summit of Mount Sinai.
Okay.
And St. Catherine's is the highest mountain in Egypt.
Got it.
And they're both in the same mountain range, essentially.
Okay, so this is the main one. This is the main Mount Sinai.
Moses Mountain is what they call it locally, but it's called Mount Sinai.
Wow.
And you hike it in the darkness, and there's different trails that lead to different ranges, to different
convenient,
peaks.
Very
But you have to be well prepared, because even the flashlight that they give you is not very strong or powerful. So I packed in advance, knowing that we're going to hike overnight. I packed my headlamp. I packed extra layers of clothing, warmer clothing, because at nighttime the temperatures drop significantly. Extra water, extra fruit, food, extra everything. So, and you can see here, just the local Bedouins just kind of hanging out in the darkness on their camels, seeing if anyone needs help, climbing, riding up the mountain. I did a little bit of astrophotography from my phone.
Beautiful.
And you could see the Milky Way just
God,
over the mountains. But man, like, just seeing it with your own two eyes it's completely different. I've seen the Milky Way so many times now, but each time it just takes my breath away. And being able to see it out there in the desert with like almost no light pollution, like the stars, everything is just that much more vibrant. And man, it's just surreal, man, to be able to do this thing. And the thing about this hike is a couple things happened that really, again, when I say like Harson fainting was one of the things that scared the life out of me, this was another thing that scared the life out of me. Is I'm with Eric. Eric's not feeling very well, and then again, we're with our tour group, right? So our tour group makes a stop, so the people who are lagging behind can catch up, and also we're going at a good pace, and we're with our guide at all times for safety's sake. So he's sitting down. I'm like, I'm just gonna go take a quick photo, like 10 steps away. I'm just gonna take a quick photo of the stars and everything and the mountains, and I'll be right back. Right? He's like, yeah, sounds good. Go ahead. So I go literally 10 steps the other way. I take a photo. I come back, and Eric's gone.
Oh my God.
And again, this is pitch black darkness in the middle of a mountain. Eric doesn't have a phone that's activated. I have no way of communicating to him. So I start yelling. I'm like, Eric. Eric, no response. I start, doing like, I double back. I go back to see if he's behind. He's not there. I loop around our stop to see if maybe he just, went to the other side to see something, or maybe he's went to use the washroom. He's not there. I go to my guide. I'm like, hey, my friend who was with me, did you see him? He's like, no, I haven't seen him. I'm like, well, he's not with me. I think he's lost. Like, what do I do? He's like, don't worry about it. He probably just, went ahead with a different group. We'll see him at top. I'm like, I don't know how you're so calm about this, but I'm losing my mind right now. He's like, don't worry about it. We'll meet him at the top. He'll be with a different group there, and we'll just, reconvene, and you should be fine. I'm like, but I know that Eric's not feeling well, so I was freaking out. Right. So at this point, my group, like, they're not in shape at all. They're like lagging behind.
Right.
And I'm running on adrenaline. First of all, doing this hike is a pilgrimage for me. Second of all, I'm like, Eric's, I don't even know where. So I'm double timing it up this mountain. Literally, I ditch my group because my group is very, very slow. I catch up to the next group ahead of us. They're also lagging behind. So I'm like, okay, he's not with this group. I'm going to go to the next group. So I literally skipped 3 groups ahead because they were all so slow. And he wasn't in any of the groups. And they're all so slow, they're not going to catch sunrise. And I'm like, this, like, you guys are wasting your time.
Yeah, it's all about the sunrise.
Exactly. Yeah. So I double time it. I catch up. I get to the top. As soon as I get to the top, I finish like the steps, which are the hardest part of the hike. There were about 750 steps, which are very, very, very steep. You'll see in this video here how steep they actually are. How, like, they weren't even stable, right? And I'm out of breath, and I'm like double timing it to catch sunrise and see if Eric's there. Like, I'm just sweating. Get to the top. Eric's there, and I'm like, thank God. He's like, where were you? I'm like, I was with our group. Where were you? He's like, oh, yeah, I kind of got lost. I went red. I'm like, this guy.
Wow.
But man, just being up there and being able to see the sunrise.
Jeez, look at that.
The ranges and ranges and ranges of mountains, bro. Yeah, it's just I think the word I would say that best describes this is peace. I was at peace with everything. Like, all the stresses of everything, of life, of the world. I was just at peace being on top there, looking at catching the sunrise.
Yeah, I think there's nothing like that. It's nothing.
It's so surreal being able to do this and see.
And on top of that, there's such a biblical seismic event that took place here. Big time.
And again, like walking the same steps as Moses, it just mind-boggling. The entire trip, like this entire experience. And then obviously the sights, the ranges and ranges of mountains just towering over everything. And just being able to see all the different mountains and peaks. And then from the summit, you could actually see, I think I have a photo, maybe it's on my GoPro, of St. Catherine's Mountain. So a few people do the hike for St. Catherine's as well, but it's not as monumental as this one. You're not as iconic as Moses Mountain. And
Harson saw this too, right?
No, I wish he could have.
Yeah.
So as soon as this guy came back to the Airbnb, he was just like, yeah, you wouldn't have made it. He was just like, if you tried it, you wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
I think I've learned this over time too. It's just, and from Emerson too, it's just, it's better to be strategic, be tactile, and know where you are in terms of your health first. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. I was still cramping those days.
He was still cramping, and it's just, we were pushing a lot, and
there's no point in overextending that.
At this point, whatever kind of virus or sickness or elevations, whatever, like, one of us caught, we all caught. Like, no one was 100% at this point. Like from our lungs point of view, everyone was feeling unwell. So we were fighting through a lot just to even get here. Harson already, after going through, the incident, it just would be a higher risk in the darkness to have a cramp,
Yeah, man.
and run
Yeah,
that risk
it's not
there.
worth it.
So, no.
Yeah. So, you have this experience at Mount Moses at the peak,
Yeah.
and you're probably thinking about this on your way back down.
Yeah.
It's probably, I don't know. It's a hell of an experience, right? Because it's a once in a lifetime thing.
It's definitely life-changing, man. Like, it's being up there, obviously doing the hike itself. Any hike for me, and whenever I go on a summit, a mountain hike, to reach the summit there, it's you really learn a lot about yourself, the environment around you. You learn a lot all the way through. But this one specifically, with the history, the biblical facts, everything in mind there of Moses being able to do this, in his old age and speak with God at the top. Like, it was just there's just so much happening at this mountain that it just meant that much more to be able to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds speechless. Yeah.
I highly recommend you have to do this. Like, train for it, prep for it, and definitely do this, because this is one of those things you have to do in this lifetime. You cannot skip it.
Wow. So we're almost nearing the end of the full journey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I have to say, I feel like I'm right there with you.
Oh man, wish you could have been, bro. Wish you could have been.
Yeah.
But one day you'll be there too, I'm sure. And the next day, like, we finish up Sharm el-Sheikh at that point, and we fly back to Cairo. At this point, one of our first guides who got us through Saqqara, Memphis, and Giza, he said, "Hey, listen, I have another guide I can set you up with, or I can connect you with one of my friends who can take you out to see Siwa and Alexandria
Oh my
in
God.
2 days." And we're like, wait, what? So initially, we really wanted to do Siwa. Siwa was, like, I think top 3 for you.
Yeah.
100. Yeah. And so we really wanted to try to get Siwa in there. But Siwa, for those who don't know, is about 8.5 hours out into the Western Desert. So that's from Cairo. Yeah. And it's not easy because there's no real major airports in that direction. A bus goes out there, but it's a long bus ride.
12 hours.
Yeah, 12 hours, exactly. The car rides are very long as well, but we were determined. And when the guide said he can, set us up to get us out there, we took that opportunity. So we actually made some last minute modifications to the itinerary and our stays, so we can actually drive out, take a bus out, like a little tour van, to go towards Siwa from Cairo. So we landed in Cairo at 8 a.m. We got picked up, and then we're already on our way.
Jeez. When I was watching your stories, man, I couldn't believe you guys were making your way out there in the west of Egypt.
We couldn't believe it, actually.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that, man. I was like, you guys are gonna cross the desert? What? Like, after all that, the Mount Moses and all, what? Like,
It wasn't enough. You needed more, man.
Wow. It was surreal, man. We get it. The whole drive out there was very, very long. We're not all feeling very well. We're running again on fumes in terms of sleep and energy. What's that?
The roads were brutal.
The roads were so brutal, bumpy. We had a flat tire in the middle of the desert. With
I think, the video right after. So they're trying to fix it, and we're just like, okay.
There's literally not a single other life source in sight for hundreds of kilometers or miles.
I see no life.
There's nothing, and we just have a flat tire, and we're like, what do we do?
Yo, guys. Okay. So I'm sorry to interject, Emerson, but if for people who don't know, man, Siwa is very, very famous for a event in history where Siwa is known for the Oracle of Delphi, and I'm sure they told you about this. And there's a very, very famous oracle that lived there, and Alexander the Great after he defeated Persia, he didn't keep going. He actually came back to Egypt and he wanted to go to Siwa. So he made this journey too. And he almost freaking died.
Yep.
And the story goes that him, Hephaestus, and Ptolemy, and all his little group that went there, they pretty much fell unconscious, and then they woke up and they saw a bunch of crows, and they saw that, okay, if there are crows here, there must be an oasis or trees here, and then they followed the crows and they finally found this place. But this Siwa journey, man, I could not believe you guys did this. In fact, Alexander even knew there was a Persian king who goes by the name of Cambyses, took his whole army through this journey that you guys are on. His whole army of 50,000 died in this desert. So they're still finding like 50,000 swords that might be under the sand here somewhere.
Man, the history is...
The stories.
Oh, just mind-boggling. And yeah, to be able to go there...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. So I was like, initially, my idea was to like rent one of these vans and then go out like off-roading into the desert, and then camp out in the desert like under like zero light pollution and all that. But apparently, there's a lot of landmines in there.
Oh my god!
It's still active. Yeah.
It's still active from like World War II.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh well,
bastards.
Yeah, it's not safe, and there was a lot of police stops along the way. We almost took a wrong turn into a military base.
Oh yeah.
And,
wow, they're like, no.
That's a one-way trip.
No, damn it.
But yeah, Siwa, I would say, was probably the most authentic and raw, like a very, very untouched from the Western world. Everyone's still in traditional wear. The restaurants and buildings still made with different kind of palm branches and on the roofing and like olden architecture.
They had no lights.
No lighting, all like lantern and candle base. Everything was still very primitive relative to Cairo and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the iconic spots in Siwa, and Siwa's known for, is the salt. So we went to Siwa Lake, the salt lakes in Siwa, which is a massive lake, and we got to go swimming in it. And it was the most, like, I mean, you inevitably taste it at some point, but it's the saltiest that you ever taste in your life. And it's just because of the solidity, you just become so buoyant and you just float, you shoot up to the surface.
Wow.
So I've never in my life been able to float on water. I shot up to the top, like, whoa, this is so cool.
I can just imagine you guys just floating around here.
Just floating around.
I just started swimming. I was like, there's no way I can drown. I'm going to just go on an adventure.
This man went off. Like, he was swimming. He was so far out into the lake. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. And then we caught the sunset there too. And just floating in the water, catching the sunset. As you can see here. Very, very, very beautiful.
Man, if we could have floated with a guava drink.
Oh, yeah. And I would say Siwa is the first time we experienced mosquitoes in Egypt.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, after sunset, we got eaten alive.
Oh my god, that's brutal.
And then once we made it into the city, we actually, with our guide, went to see the fortress.
Yeah, the fortress of Siwa.
Yeah, and the fortress overlooks all of the city. And this, I think there was a big war at the time back in, I can't remember which dynasty, where all the city villagers would go and seek refuge in the fortress. And to this day, a lot of the remains of the fortress is still there, kind of open to the city and kind of like and tourism. But a lot of it has kind of been built over and taken over into a full-fledged city at this point.
Yeah.
And Siwa, I think, is also the first time we got to ride a tuk-tuk.
Nice.
Like a rickshaw, and that was really
so
fun.
Tight.
So tight and bumpy.
There was four. It was fun though.
It was really fun.
Wow.
Because Siwa had no street lamps. like the way that we were taking. So it was just like, it was just the tuk-tuk with its front light. That was it. Just dodging these potholes. And I'm, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely very raw, a lot more raw than all the other countries, other cities, sorry. And then we went to basically different hot springs.
Hot springs,
that they had.
Natural hot springs that they turned into a tourist spot.
Yeah, and we got to go there, just relax, and just you could kind of see the Milky Way. I tried to film it on my GoPro. The Milky Way is just very visible over the night sky, and
I can just imagine Siwa being very, not very tourist heavy, I guess.
It was actually a couple tourists there.
Yeah, there were some tourists, but not very touristy.
Right. I just like that you guys are able to really appreciate.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the place that I saw the most tourists was actually Aswan.
Interesting. Wow.
Like it was packed. I was like, what?
Wow.
I'm like, you guys roughing it out here. You know that, right? It's Aswan.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was that night in Siwa, and then we spent the next morning in Siwa as well. So we went to Cleopatra's Eye, and then we explored some of the salt pools. The really cool thing about this one is it almost looks like snow in the ground, for all the salt just kind of crystallizing and forming into this snow-like formation, and it's so brittle and strong at the same time, and they form these like salt lakes where they extract the salt and then export them with the different farming equipment all over the world. And the salt farms were very, very cool. We couldn't find, because these are pretty much natural forming for the most part, right? And there's certain salt pools that they call them that go deep enough that you can actually swim into. But we couldn't find ones that were deep enough as we're going around the different formations. So we checked out a few, and then we made our way back to the fortress to see it one more time in the daytime, so we can kind of get a better appreciation of the sites, right? And how everything was kind of carved in and how everything's still well preserved there.
Why is it everything that's carved out of stone is just so much cooler?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just feels natural. Like it's like this is because we're almost carving into nature.
Exactly. And look here, like you could see like these are different roofings for different shops and whatnot, still with the different palm leaves dried out and everything. So Siwa, again, think of it as still very untouched by the Western world, and it's very raw in many, many ways. And I really appreciated that about Siwa. I'm like, this is like almost traveling backwards in time a little bit, you know?
Right. I want to ask you guys, where did you find the most, I guess, influence of Bedouin culture?
Yeah, I would say maybe Sharm had a lot of Bedouin stuff out, especially when we left Sharm and went into more Sinai. There was a lot of influence of the Bedouin culture there. And anytime you go outside the cities, the major cities, you have more influence of the local Bedouins there. Even when we went ATVing outside the desert, more Bedouins out there set up, where little children in bare feet in the middle of the desert come running to you, trying to sell you, bracelets and things of such.
That was crazy, man.
Yeah, scorching hot. No feet, no saddles, nothing.
It was like 40 at least, 39, 40. Like,
my God.
In the corner with no shoes, no socks, and I'm like, where are these kids coming from?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the middle of the desert, right? Like, it's crazy. So outside the cities, bro, every time you leave the major cities, you get to see more of the locals, like the nomads, the Bedouins, the tribes, the Nubians. So it's very different further out you go.
Okay, this looks insane. The catacombs.
Yes, the catacombs.
So right after that, we take an 8-hour drive done in 7.25 all the way to Alexandria. Madman. And so for some reason the catacombs closed at like what, 4?
Yeah.
So the catacombs closed at 4. We get there at like 3:50. Our guide knows the guards in the front. He's just like, I'm going in. They're like, sure. And we actually got to see the catacombs, man.
Yeah, Alexandria has a insane history. I mean, Emerson, you and I were talking about the Library of Alexandria and the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which they ran 24/7. I think it was, I don't know how they were doing that, but that's, I mean, like you said, I think it would have been one of the 8 wonders of the world or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then this spot over here, I've never heard of this spot, the Catacombs of Shukafa?
Yeah, Koma Shufkafa. It's a lot of influence here from the Roman era, from the Greek era when they came into Egypt, and then the Egyptians as well. So it was very a lot of the catacombs, that were very well preserved here. So this was a catacomb of a royalty member, is what's assumed. No one really knows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe, but a lot of the tombs here were for the royalties of people and also horses. There were also large catacombs dedicated to horses.
I can see up there, there's like a shield with Medusa, so that's definitely Greek.
Yes, yeah. So this is the Greek influence when Alexander was pretty much ruling in reign. So the snake here is very different from the Egyptian cobras that they would represent as. So this one with the crown of Egypt on top of it, with the shield and Medusa's face, is very representative of the Greeks. And during their rule of Egypt, essentially. And you can kind of tell even from the architecture where the influences come from. Right.
Yeah, they look very Hellenic and mixed with the Egyptian.
Yeah, and you can even tell like the different Egyptian gods and how they're depicted but not how they would normally be etched in or carved in. They're done more with the Greek architects and constructors, right? So
this looks so beautiful, man.
Can you guess whose face this is?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry, this face right here. This is much more clear. This is Alexander the Great.
Whoa, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so Alexander the Great, his rule during that time, he was revered to as a god amongst men.
Yeah.
So he would, similar to kind of King Ramses II, his face and his statues and his everything was placed everywhere and etched in and carved in everywhere because he was that powerful, that renowned.
That's what the people wanted it.
Yeah.
Like Ramses II, he wanted it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like the people wanted to be like, yeah, this is Alexander's place.
Yeah. That speaks volumes of who Alexander was versus who Ramses maybe was.
Because the thing is, like, you're right. I mean, Alexander wanted to be pharaoh, and he revered Egypt so much. I mean, that's why, just from what I've read from Philip Freeman's biography, is that he wanted to, that's why he went to Siwa, to meet the Oracle of Delphi. And he asked 3 questions. Are the murderers of my father, have they been brought to justice? And then he asks, who is my father? And she answers, your father is the sun, which means you are the son of the sun, which makes you a god. You are a divine being.
Wow.
And he wanted that answer. Everyone knew he was the son of Philip, but he wanted to know, am I divine? And that's when everything changed. He was like, I am a walking god on earth. So I am next in the cartouche. I need to be a pharaoh. And he knew. That's when everything changed.
Everything changed.
Yeah. And he was like, yes, I am now in the long line of all these pharaohs. I'm the next. That's an insane legacy to have.
I love that you do so much research on this, man. I wish you could have been there. I feel like you would appreciate a lot of these places to an nth degree, just having that much history knowledge that you have come into. Oh, man.
No, but the thing is, I look at these people like real personalities with real feelings and what they're going through. And Alexander was the kind of person who just wanted answers. He wanted to know a lot of things, and a lot of his life, I think he's the most important person to study. I think out of many people. He read Plato's Republic. He read Aristotle's books. He was a student of Aristotle, so he knew so much, and everything connects to this. And even the word history in Greek means research.
Right.
It's human research. It's like understanding people. So it's like, even like now that you're in Alexandria, it's like he died in Babylon in Iraq, and Ptolemy decided, I'm going to bury him in Egypt. He brings him to Alexandria, and this is where he is buried. His tomb hasn't been found, but the fact that you guys went here, it just blows my goddamn mind. Like, yeah.
We absolutely had to. We had to see, again, as many of these destinations as possible, and I'm glad we got to. And everyone made it happen. And the funny thing about this, the catacombs, I keep calling them tombs, technically are, is this shaft right here used to be open, and a donkey accidentally fell through and collapsed on top of one of these offering counters. And when they went to investigate where the donkey went and heard the noises coming from this, that's when they accidentally discovered the catacombs.
Yep. Some fun with donkeys.
That is insane. So many crazy stories.
So many wild stories. And you can see these catacombs are just kind of, what the sizing of them were, how they labeled were, and just rows and rows and rows and rows of them. And they had ones for humans, for horses. You could see at this point there was an addition to it. Can you guess which empire this was based on the architecture?
That looks like a Roman roof.
That's the Romans, exactly. Yeah. You got it. So this is when the Romans started to have their rule over Egypt. They started adding on to this catacomb and their extension, and then they put their influences and how they drew and carved out the different stories were very, very different from the Greeks and the Egyptians. So it was just very unique to see the different influences of different civilizations at their time of ruling coming into effect. Medusa was a big icon, I guess, amongst a lot of these tombs. She was said to be almost like a warden, and a protector. Yeah, where anyone who's coming to maybe rob or desecrate these catacombs would be warded off by her. So that was a very unique thing too. And man, the thing about Alexandria that I would say I loved the most was the technological advancements of that era.
This looks like a clock.
This is exactly it. And this was a very advanced sundial for its time, where it not only told you the hour of day, but the minute of that day as well. During the daytime hours and during the nighttime hours, they had sand dials. So basically, what we're kind of seeing, done for different things for stopwatch sake or whatever, but those sand dials would also tell you the hour and the minute of the day, and that's how accurate they were with their technologies of their time. They were just so much further ahead than everyone else and so much more advanced. And that came to waterways. They had sewage systems. They had fresh water flow systems that would come to your house. They had bathtubs carved out of marble. With drain holes. So they accounted for so many things, and they created infrastructure for all of these things in such an advanced level for their time.
My God. I mean, I could just see that clock and it's like, I could use that today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Alexandria.
Harson, what was you? I know you had some like really favorite points from the catacombs as well.
The catacombs blew my mind because, I think it's that one video. If you scroll up just a little, that one. So they built these tombs, or I guess, tombs, so perfectly that it actually just looked like a wall. They had to X-ray into here to find out that, oh shit, hold on, wait a minute, this is hollow. There's something in here.
Yeah.
Oh my
Like
god.
this is a perfect wall. Like you couldn't tell.
So perfectly measured out.
Perfectly measured out, perfectly like reconstructed. So when like if bandits or robbers came, they'd be like, oh, there's nothing here. So like archaeologists literally x-rayed the walls and was like, wait, this is all hollow. And then they started chipping away and like finding all these tombs.
Yeah, a lot of the fake walls that we kind of saw at the pyramids, this whole spot, that's a great, yeah. Oh,
Like
man.
that's what blew my mind about the catacombs. I was just like, wait, so a donkey falls in here. They find the tomb, but they're like, oh, there's nothing in here. And then archaeologists like years later come through and they're like, oh, let's x-ray this. And they find all these tombs. And it kept going. Like one of the tombs he was showing, like it went down and then it went, I think, almost like 20 feet in. So you can fit your entire family there.
Yeah, it's insane.
Blew my mind.
That whole area, just Alexandria, was amazing. And then we drove by the coastline. So now at this point, we're by the Mediterranean, and we're hugging the waterway, essentially to the fortress. So this is also, it goes by Kit Bay Fortress or Kit Bay Citadel. I think it goes by two names. And this is
I can see the name down there. Yeah,
there you go.
Wow.
Kit Bay, and then Citadel. And man, this is the one that I love. Everything about Alexandria for me, engineering and advancements in technology and science, like just obviously the pyramids, obviously all of these beautiful locations, but different eras, different times. Alexandria was just so far advanced in so many ways. So I think we were talking about this for us before the call. Was this used to be a major lighthouse guiding the different warships? And
oh my god, the lighthouse was here.
This was where the lighthouse stood. And
so the wall that you see around is when the lighthouse collapsed.
Oh my god.
Exactly. And it's just by the water, right? And it used to guide all the warships and all the different trade ships and everything else. But after they had the huge earthquake and tsunamis, it crashed and completely demolished, and they started to rebuild. But now the Sultan and the rulers at the time were like, they brought in the greatest engineers, the greatest scientists at the time, said, hey, I want you to reconstruct this, but I want you to account for all of these tidal solutions of tsunamis and earthquakes and everything that's going to hit, because I don't want this to crash. So they went into work and they came up with this. See, I got a little video of it. So this right here is a type of wood, and you can see the fibers of the wood still there, right? It's built in, it's etched into the layers of the stone, acting as a shock absorber. It's
actually crazy.
Mental, man. Like,
wow.
They thought about this back then, saying, hey, what can we come up with to absorb the impacts of tidal waves and high vibrations of earthquakes? So they did this and it worked. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the whole citadel, constructed with the furthest advancements of engineering at the time to account for geographically where it's located, but also, as you can see, being a citadel and a fortress of power, to account for multi-layers of attacks from inland, multi-layers of attacks from the sea. Like they were just fortified and a towering force over all of Alexandria.
Like this picture does not do it justice. This is a huge.
Yeah, like you can see the little diagram, like little sculpture they made here, maquette, of how many layers of protection and walls they had protecting this, by the land, by the sea, and just massive in scale. And this is where this one reminded me instantly of you, Feroz, is they had their own prayer room or prayer area for the Islamic followers there. And I saw the geometric shapes and patterns. I'm like, yo, that's Feroz's patterns right there. I've seen your artwork of this, so it instantly reminded me of you.
That's interesting because I don't see 12-star rosettes here. They're not very common here, but it's common over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so cool. And the whole layout had its own kind of agriculture, had its own, you can kind of see the cannons and everything where they used to set up for defense or offense, whatever it may be. And
I think it was more on the GoPro, but we took pictures and like each floor was for like a different caste.
Yes.
The first one was for like workers or like whoever, like just regular guards. Second floor would be like for like his generals, because he had like auditoriums for like debriefings and stuff. Like, oh, attacking from this, like he would have that. And then the third floor was for his family and his cook.
Wow.
It's like, it's insane, man.
Yeah. You don't see stuff like this like anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not anymore. And that I would say wrapped up our trip essentially, and then we made our way back to, well, we explored a little bit of the, I guess, kind of the market of Alexandria a little bit. We got some falafel sandwiches to go, and it was a long drive still back to Cairo that day.
4 hours.
Yeah, and then we caught the sunset on the drive back, and then we flew out the next morning from Cairo back to Canada.
Yep.
Jesus! Oh my God! Wow.
Love how the trip ended with a sunset picture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot. We did we saw so many places, kind of, going across the map of Egypt, right? Like we saw the north, south, east, west, central. We literally saw the four corners, I guess, of Egypt. So we started in Cairo, worked our way down to Aswan, and then all the way down to Abu Simbel. Worked our way back to Aswan, all the way up Komombo, Edfu, Esna, Luxor. Worked east to Hurghada. Worked then further east to Sharm el Sheikh and up to St. Catherine, Sinai. Went back to Cairo, and then west to Siwa. Oh god.
I still can't believe you guys went there. It's crazy.
Look how far that is from.
I know.
Like, insane.
Almost in Libya.
Yeah, we literally went down, and then we might have went up and then went back all the way to Alexandria.
Yep.
Jeez.
And then back to Cairo. So north,
and our
south.
driver was amazing, man. Like he drove the 8 hours, waited for us, and then drove back the 4 hours.
Tank.
That's insane.
Tank of a man. And north, south, east, west, central. Like we got to see so much of Egypt.
Yep.
In 2 weeks.
Wow.
Mental stress, fatigue, physical, everything.
Well, Harson, when you were boarding your last flight back to Canada, what was going through your mind?
Man, it was in the beginning, like when we were like actually like boarding from like Egypt back to Montreal, I was just like, holy shit, man, 2 weeks. Like 2 weeks just went by like that, and it was honestly, it felt like a sensory overload, because I would only remember like a couple of the spots, and then I would see the pictures. I'm like, oh yeah, we did this here, this there, and like, man, like we did a very quick, I guess, sketch of what we did. Like there's so many little things that happen in between as well. Like even in Cairo, when we grabbed the Uber, this guy was just like, you guys need to get there fast? No problem. I'm the Egyptian Vin Diesel. Man, I thought we were going to die on the first night.
We were 100% gonna die. He's like, he called himself. Yeah, Vin Diesel. We're like, we're not gonna make it.
We're not gonna make it.
This man was like cutting off the ambulances and police just to.
Yeah.
My God.
So there's like little stories like that, like all throughout it, and like watching these pictures and like talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, we did that. Oh yeah, we did this. Like even the step pyramid right there. Like to get to it, we had to jump like a 7-foot friggin' drop.
Yo.
We had to like drop all the way down, and then
the red pyramids right there that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Oh my God, the step pyramid.
We're going into shafts to go explore underground the different tombs and.
Like it was a very fulfilling experience. Sorry.
Yeah. No, these are like. I mean, the fact that you guys went to the step pyramid is blowing my mind now.
Oh yeah.
Because that was like an innovation of like, okay, let's make this mastaba, let's layer another cake on top, and then just keep going. and then Sneferu comes around and he's like, okay, let's just fill the gaps. Yeah. And then he fails like twice. He doesn't get it right. And it's just like nice to see like everything is connected, man. Like Imhotep was the architect, and the way he, God damn it, man, there's just so many stories. It's endless, man. If anyone goes to Egypt, man, I think it's just endless. Like it's just, you'll never stop. Like even the obelisks that you saw, I know, Harson, that was the first time you saw an obelisk in Karnak, right?
Yeah, man.
And I don't know if they have this, but the top of the obelisk used to be made of electrum. Oh, it's an alloy of gold and silver. It used to be like a shiny top. I think that was the case with the pyramids too.
I think it was only one of the pyramids, was it not? Like the middle one?
No, I don't
I think so
know.
too.
But I do know that
this one.
Wow.
This one up here.
That one had the electrum top cap.
That's the one that's the most protected. Like no one goes near it.
Yeah. Jeez. I think it's crazy because, I've seen so many obelisks. So I was very happy to see that, Harson, you saw your first one.
Yeah, man.
the most obelisks are in Rome, because Romans loved obelisks. They just took a lot of them. There's like 13 or 15. The first obelisk I saw was in Paris and in Istanbul, and there's one in New York as well. If you're interested to see more.
Got to. More traveling to be
There's
had.
like 50 or so in total, but I think you guys saw the largest one. That's the largest one in Karnak.
We did, yeah.
That's the most important one.
Well, I'm glad it was my first.
Yeah, man, you saw the main one. You saw the most important one.
There was another one, like the collapsed obelisk in Aswan.
Yeah.
I don't think we had a chance to even get close to that one, did we?
No.
Yeah.
We had
apparently that one's the biggest. Like it's huge.
Yeah. I know one of them is unfinished, and the archaeologists love that one because that's how they knew how they were made.
Oh.
Yeah. That's insane. Actually, there's a story of one of the pharaohs. I think it's Tutmosis, one of the Tutmoses. He straps his son, like one of his kids, on the top of the obelisk, and he has his men raise it up just to make sure they get it right. Because they're scared of killing the guy. Yeah, because he has 50 sons. He's like, whatever, if I lose one kid. So he straps his son, and they're raising the obelisk, and he's like, okay, let's make sure you don't mess it up. It's like, okay, the pressure.
That is a crazy story. What?
Yeah, they were serious. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about these stories, and it's like, wow, as if so much has happened. Because we think of America's about 200 years old. That's such a small part of Egyptian history.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Another thing that mind, as we were going through and talking to all the guides and all the different places that we visited, is how many cultures tried to come through and conquer them or did conquer them.
Yeah.
Right? It was you could see where they tried to, the Christians putting their it wasn't really a cross. What was it again?
It's like their version of a cross. It looks like a plus sign almost.
Plus sign, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Romans coming through, and then like the Greeks. I was just like,
the
man, all these
wars
people-
between them and Syria and Sudan, and
Oh my God.
like they just fended off so many armies that came their way. And
you're just like listening to this, and I'm like, man, we only live for 80 years max.
Yeah.
This is empires and empires, and it was just like, man, it was just a surreal, like,
Right. Yeah.
like trip was just insane.
I even love the fact that all of you, you, Eric, Harson, all of you experienced like these mini miracles along the way. These small divine interventions, people just helping you unexpectedly, people reaching out, people doing more than, just to make sure.
Really, like I would say a lot of this, like obviously the sites and the experiences are great, but the people, man, the people are what make and break a lot of the experiences, and the people were amazing.
Right.
Like everywhere we went to, they were so kind, they were so generous, they were so friendly, they were accommodating of whatever our needs were, whether it be dietary needs, whether it be, hey, this is our itinerary, this is what we want to see, hey, we really want to try. One day we're like, oh, can we get some sugarcane juice? Guys like, yep, no problem, I'll make sure to get a stop for us, right? Or like, hey, we need some extra water, no problem, make a stop. Like everyone was just so kind and generous and very accommodating of everything we needed.
Man.
I think that goes to like deep rooted to how their culture is too. They're very like family oriented, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even when we were like driving out of Cairo, like how they build houses. It's like the first floor is for like the grandparents, and then the next floor is for the parents, and then the kids and the grandkids. Like that's how they build houses.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like
It's
full apartment buildings even would be for one family.
One family. It's just one
Mhm.
family.
And unfinished too. Like the top would just be open because they're like, oh, when our future grandkids are born, we'll finish building that for them.
Right.
It's crazy.
Keeping in mind generation after generation.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, it's very, very surreal, man. Everything about it. There's just so many stories from each
I
of
never
these
felt
places.
like any malicious intent from anyone.
Mm.
No.
Like on a 2-week vacation as a foreigner, that could have been taken advantage of 100 times over.
Mhm.
Like malicious intent from anyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's sus intent from that guy in the market.
Yeah.
He's like, follow us. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so these guys. So the one thing you don't do when you travel to places is wander off with strangers, right? Especially at nighttime. So we get off our Uber. We're going to El Khalili Bazaar, and I see Harson and Eric talking to a guy. And I'm just like looking at the direction to go to the bazaar from on my phone. I look up, I see them chatting with someone. I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe they're asking for directions. But I'm like, oh, guys, I have the directions here. They're like, oh, this guy said he saw us at the pyramids this morning. I'm like, he said he saw you at the pyramids this morning? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, did you see him? No. So why are we chatting with him?
Yeah.
It's like
And
the
then-
scarves you're wearing. Like, I know you bought them at the pyramids. I was like, wow. Yeah, I did.
These guys, man. These guys, man. And then they started like walking with this guy in like down the street away from the market. And I'm like, where are we going? They're like, oh, he wants to show us his shop. I'm like, hell no. This is how we get our organs taken, bro. What the hell are you doing? I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, sorry, man. Like, I appreciate you. I'm sure your shop is great, but we're going the other way. He's like, no, it's okay. Just come. I'm like, nah. Oh,
Wow.
hell no.
Wow.
I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you guys?
But yo, guys, I want to ask you one last question because I really want to ask both of you. Any closing thoughts of this whole adventure?
Man, life changing, man. It was just man, oh God, I don't even know. Every day was just an adventure. Like Egypt is, they say, the land of magic, land of gods. Like, man, I felt there was definitely magic there, man. Just insane. I loved it. Even though there was some unfortunate situations that happened. I absolutely loved it. Like, I'd be sitting in the airport, this guy would be trying to grab sleep. I'd grab him, he'd be like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Dude, we're in Egypt." He'd be like, "Yeah, man." I'm like, "No, we're in Egypt." He's like, "Yeah." Like, "Let me go to bed." I'm like, "Nah."
And what about you, Emerson?
Yeah, I think the whole trip was a dream. Like I didn't feel like reality. Every place we went to, we learned something new about the people, about the culture, about the history, and about ourselves, and that we could bring back home, right? And be able to share with friends and family. And I highly recommend this trip to anyone and everyone. Don't listen to the Reddit forums or like the online blogs or whatever else. Experience Egypt for yourself. Do your research. Travel well. Travel smart. But this is a place you have to see in your lifetime. It is just filled with so much history, so much lore, so much culture, so many good people, and the memories you can make here are for lifetimes to come.
Wow. Yeah, I don't even know what to say after all that. I'm speechless. But Harson, Emerson, thank you so much for being on this podcast. Thank you so much for sharing all your stories. And I hope anyone who's listening, takes, something out of this, And both of you guys, and even Eric, I know he's not here, but he was with you guys the whole way. All three of you guys can expect your names written in hieroglyphs when this podcast will be going up.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having us, brother. Really appreciate this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For sure. I can't wait to see you guys in person one day and have more chats.
Absolutely.
And
the next trip you're coming with us.
Yeah. No, we're gonna keep going, guys. And anyone who's listening, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.